CPI data here for both the U.S. and Canada on a month-over-month basis, 1.9% on the Canadian side of things. Core inflation month-over-month for June down here for the U.S., 0.2%. The headline rate, 2.9%, a little bit better than expected. 3 was the consensus forecast, 2.9. The actual expectation there. So inflation overall, 0.3% versus 0.3% expected there, 2.7 versus 2.6% on the headline number. But core, a slight downtick there, which is a good sign. On this side of the border here, 2.7% for core, uptick versus the forecast of 2.6%. The median expectation, 3.1 versus 2.9. So inflation a little bit back to the upside here in Canada. There's the overall market. Nasdaq liking that number, just taking out the pre-market highs there and then some. See if this can continue here. But a whole bunch of individual things moving around here this morning. We'll get to bank earnings. Welcome back to earnings season officially. JP Morgan. I mean, it was a decent report. Overall, price action was a little bit to the downside initially here this morning. No reaction on that CPI data, but most of them looking like this. We did get a few others we'll get to this morning as well. Pepsi, there was a note I saw from Jefferies on Pepsi this morning. It was moving around on that. DoorDash with its own headline. I mean, Tesla's in the news every single day, but interesting. Slight downtick here, which is good to see. Yeah.
How many times are we going to have to wait?
Yeah.
Until this inflation-related tariff comes in.
Sure, he's gonna get to his mic there. He was just saying, like, how long are we gonna have to wait as far as the Fed is concerned here to get some sort of actual movement in the right direction. I'll bring up the Fed funds tool here and see if it'll take a second to refresh, but see if we get some movement that way.
Yeah, and we were supposed to get it in May because the tariffs were implemented in April. Now we're supposed to get them in June. Specifically, we're supposed to see them in autos, apparel, and I don't know if that's, I haven't looked at sector by sector, but the top line not looking like it really is reflecting here, Brendo. Also, we were supposed to see it in footwear, electronics, furniture, so things to keep an eye on if you do a bit of a deep dive. There's so much to talk about. Nvidia obviously back in focus as they're going to be able to sell their H20 chip back in China. Good lobbying there by Jensen, who was in the White House on Friday. Brendo, TTD, trade desk getting added to the S&P 500, not a quarterly rebalance, but these acquisitions allow you to have sort of an inter-quarterly rebalance, as you mentioned, the bank's reporting. Google spending all sorts of money, more CapEx there to add energy onto the grid, and Microsoft getting an upgrade today.
I mean, they're really spending nothing compared to BlackRock, but
when you have that much.
BlackRock also saying that they're in full-on buy mode. So 12.5 trillion with a T assets under management for BlackRock reported as well. Just unreal. Here it is, 58.1. I don't think this is updated yet. So this is September. If you go up to September, 58.1. So we are leaning towards a quarter point for September, October. I mean, put those together, maybe better part of half a basis point. You go out to the end of the year, it's still half a basis point. So I'm not sure that's updated.
You think he's waiting for the tariff-related inflation to come out before he starts? I'm talking about Jerome Powell and the Fed in general, before you start that narrative about cutting. Because how many times are we going to keep saying, oh, it's going to be next month, we're going to see that inflation print rise, core or headline, and it really hasn't come.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are echoing that at this point. Like, what is the wait? Or what is the point at this point that we're waiting for? So there's the market rejecting that pre-market high a little bit here, but nicely positive on the back of that CPI print. Again, a slight, ever so slight downtick there on the headline number. Otherwise, basically in line with expectations. I mean, a lot to consider here, guys. Good morning.
And a good morning. It is Brendan. Thank you, Jensen. Thank you, inflation not being as bad as everyone expected. Thank you, MP Materials.
Oh boy.
Who else are we thanking so far today? Thank you, Tesla 318. Thank you, Palantir 148. Check that. 149 and almost all-time high. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
That's
obviously,
AMD as well. Thank you,
AMD is out there, so there's a lot to be happy about. Like, what isn't good? What's
Oh boy.
There wasn't much that, you know what, here's the one thing that maybe, I don't know, it doesn't put a damper on anything. The bank earnings were all great. The reaction to them wasn't so great. Let's leave it at, like, that's about the only thing that I think gets you less amped up was the reaction, at least early on some of the banks, because usually they blew out some of the numbers, and we'll get into all of that. But wow, and the thing that should be considered here is when we're talking about Nvidia up 4.5% and Jensen making a deal or getting things done. Remember, this was the bargaining chip with China. So ultimately, there's two things that make this good for the Chinese tech names. Any kind of a trade deal probably starts with getting them access to NVIDIA's chips, which if that's going to happen, you kind of assume that we're going to move down the line and move closer toward getting an overall deal with China. That would be a good thing. And then B, of course, access to NVIDIA's chips is also good for them as well. So Baba's up more than NVIDIA is. Baba's up 6 points, NVIDIA up 4.5 points. Randy, it's going to be a good day, I think.
You seen what Nvidia?
We haven't changed those in forever. Really haven't. Like I don't know why this is still been a bear for like how long?
I mean, yeah, exactly. With the markets going the way that they are, I think we should definitely a change is in order. I think.
Well, I honestly forget that. I honestly forget that we had it on the bear. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's. What do you think? What do you think about this Nvidia?
Only going to get bigger. It's going to explode. But where's the limit? Can they keep up production numbers and deliveries? Yes, tariffs do play into this at some point, but I don't know. The demand is just, it seems limitless right now. So go.
Yeah,
the
man.
No, I find it a little interesting because first they trying to the whole tariff back and forth, and now they're coming down into settlements. And as they're approaching that, they're like, okay, fine, we can do the chips again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of
there's a lot
part of the deal.
There's a lot of leverage there. So yeah, they're gonna play it.
Yeah,
that's what they got to do.
I like that.
Oh, you're seeing some interesting things. Thanks, Randy.
Yes.
I just saw you don't usually see this early in the morning. But I don't think you'll be able to see it on the level 2. It's gone now. But there was already size sitting at 170.
The spoofy man?
No, deep.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
he's actually sitting there.
Yeah, there was size
deep
at 170.
Okay.
There's size at 172. The even dollar levels already at about 837. Already, they just have size sitting there. You're probably not going to be able to see it. I don't know if we have the depth of book. It was a little bit ago. Now, you're probably not going to. It's flashed there. Someone's already flashing at 170, and then someone flashed at 172 on one of the gateways. So you this is going to be a special day for liquidity and volume. Nvidia going to do 10 million pre-market in here for sure. So it should be a wild one. Brent Roth, this is the best. Do you think Palantir is going to 150 and above on the morning show? Well, my first gut reaction would be a no based on what's happening right now to Palantir. But yesterday, we feel like Palantir didn't have a catalyst, and it was the thing that maybe you weren't looking at. I wasn't looking at Palantir until after it went nuts, and was like, oh, we should probably join this move, and just got and bought VWAP. And today feels like the same thing. Everybody's looking at the chip names, and everyone's looking at China or elsewhere, the stocks that have specific stories, and Palantir has a chance to break 150. But the reaction that it just had as the market spiked up on the CPI number was to tag 149 and pull back. So my first gut would be, when I see that no, we don't break it in the pre-market. Maybe we go dip hunting. And if it's going to continue trending, 147 looks like a good area on Palantir. But it's got to be on watch as well. There's so many things with catalysts, but you don't want to, I always say you don't want to ignore the stock that was maybe one of the best and least complicated longs yesterday was Palantir. So you want it to be on your radar. It was a great upward trend. I think it's got to be there today. But I don't think it's going to break 150 in the pre-market now.
Yeah, here we go. So again, back to bank earnings. So I do have JPM, Wells Fargo, and Citigroup all on watch right now. JPM catching a little bit of a bid, and I was just waiting around for Citigroup. Here's what Wells Fargo is looking like in the pre-market right now. So both of these names doing a little bit of a sell-off right here off of their earnings report. We're just going to let this load right here. Oh boy. Yeah, so go to the 3-minute chart right here. So in the pre-market session, you can see both the JPM and Wells Fargo right here, trending a little bit to the downside. But Citigroup might have just came out with a little bit of something, but what is happening here, back up to those pre-market highs. I'm seeing this bid come in here, not really doing too much volume, but relative volume, of course, off of the earnings report. So 3 banks, I know there's a little bit more also on the docket for earnings names, but I'm gonna choose these 3 and take a look at them as of right now. But a little distinct difference between the way Citigroup is moving relative to Wells Fargo and JPM, because both of those ones sold off pretty aggressively. But we were talking about this earlier, double beats across the board.
Yeah.
So once again, another iteration of, the earnings report may not be the end-all be-all, and the price action is obviously,
Always.
pricing in something else as well. But of course, we got Nvidia, we got AMD, we got Palantir, and here's one, Trade Desk with the S&P 500
baby.
ad. Oh boy. So we got a lot on our docket today. I don't know what I'm going to be trading. I got plans. I got charts, I got everything ready to go, but depends on what's going to fall into my lap, right? So hopefully we have a solid day. And again, Neil already said earlier, I think today is going to be. So
There's a lot of opportunities. There's small caps out there. This Zage stock, I know. Here, I'll say the name of the company because we should always strive to be better. Longevity Health Holdings. Yes, of course I looked it up, everybody. That's how I roll. No, this one pulling back into the volume weighted average price. I see a lot of people in the chat like going on Bavins in there. And so the reason I wanted to point this one out is as it's pulling back, the prior high is 6 and VWAP is 6 and this pre-market stop is 6 and all that kind of good stuff. So that kind of gives you if you're trading this one, like a nice little over-under level to play with, because if it loses that, you kind of figure it's going to dip. I don't want to say profusely, but like it could easily drop $1 off of that level, but you can see it. The most obvious technical level is what's holding. Good volume on this, over 30 million. So there's a little something for everybody. Let's go up and continue the party to the desk. I know we're supposed to have, I think we have Mitch this morning as well at some point.
Quick recap here for anyone just coming in as far as inflation goes. If you missed it there at 8:30, basically in line with expectations. Core inflation month over month, 0.2% to the upside versus 0.2% expected. The overall yearly number, 2.9% for core. Headline number then down here, 2.7 versus 2.6. So a slight uptick as far as that goes. The core number, though, a slight downtick, kind of offsetting that. On this side of the border, inflation rate 1.9% versus 1.5 expected. Consensus forecast, though, basically exactly the same, in line with expectations. The overall monthly number, a gain of 0.1% versus a negative print that was expected. So back and forth we go here. A couple other things to mention. Big investment for CoreWeave, CRWV, to the upside here this morning, back to 142. This thing's, we talked about it yesterday. I mean, 3-4 days in a row to the downside looked pretty ugly, but $6 billion going into this AI data center in Pennsylvania. Market seems to like that today.
Yeah, and more CapEx from a company that's basically very CapEx heavy, Brendo. So I'm not going to really comment about the fundamentals of that, but I want to show the chart over here because Joseph and I were talking about this yesterday on the midday show. I perceive this to sort of be the formation of a head and shoulders pattern. You never really know with these head and shoulders pattern, but as I was telling Joseph off camera yesterday, what I was looking for was the retesting of the neckline. So it's kind of hard to tell whether the neckline here is at 150 or 140 because it's kind of an upward sloping neckline, but I'm going to be looking for a rejection either off this 140 or 150 area, Brendo, but this is kind of what you look for with a head and shoulders pattern, a retesting of the neckline. After you've breached it to the downside, you should be coming back to test it as a resistance level. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm still interested in shorting this name through options, but not going to jump in quite yet.
Yeah, I was just looking here. This is going back about a month ago, so this would have maybe decreased because of the move down, but consensus here among a bunch of sources, 4.8% on the short side. So 17 million shares of this company.
And I'm kind of surprised.
Short, yeah.
I'm kind of surprised because like I was telling you, a lot on Wall Street right now is that everybody's short and everybody's getting blown out. So I figured it would be a little bit higher.
But again, with that move down, maybe some have already been taken off a little bit there. But bounce back anyways today, guys, for CoreWeave.
This thing is looking beautiful.
It really is. That's one of those Look, it's one of those stocks where, like, I'm a little surprised it didn't fall further when it broke that trend. So the fact that it caught the bounce in here at the right off the 50-period moving average, it's surprising me. I thought this was going to get down closer to $100 on CoreWeave, that it would really, really start to cascade and fall apart. In so much as you can say dropping over 30% in a matter of weeks is not falling apart into a strong market. I guess it did, but I just can't bring. There's a lot to look at for the long today. I don't know that this is one that I want to be in for the long. I don't know your feelings on it, OB, but I might be very, very. I've actually paid for locates in case it does something stupid, because I feel like if it does like a really, really huge move, I think there'd be a better chance that you can play a good reversion. On the way up, this was not the stock for that, but now that things have changed, like this 150 area, if it does get like double digits and more. There was a lot of chop in here before it fell apart. I just feel if it gets up in there, I'll probably look for some kind of short setup on CoreWeave. There were cheap locates for us, but I don't know if I want to punch the long up here on CoreWeave specifically. So I'll stay away unless it makes a big move up that I can try to play off of that 150 area.
Yeah, no, I think with CoreWeave, again, I think I definitely agree with Sharif. Smelling like a little bit of a backside move here with the chart. You can see it's already curled. It's starting to kind of give up that bid. I had a few trend lines and maybe some anchors here as well. So you can see maybe a few speed lines. It's kind of starting to break structure. But yeah, I like that 150. Let's see if we can reclaim any of that. We have technically made a higher low. But yeah, I do like that 100 target that you had. But I don't think it's going to have a clean journey all the way down. And funny enough, anchored VWAP from inception is sitting at 106.40. So I think if we are going to revert to the mean, I think that's a good place to be looking for. But yeah, no, I'm definitely with Sharif on this one. Maybe potential to short the pops if it can get up into this little bit of downtrending resistance that we've been seeing since the highs have been made at 188.70. So that's what I got on CoreWeave.
Let's go to the desk. I believe we've got our main man joining us, Mitch in the building.
Yeah, let's bring him in. Mitch Oko over at Trade the Pool with us this morning to touch on a few things moving around here. Mitch, I'm just keeping my eye out here. There's a lot still jumping out on scanners for me. But, I mean, let's go right to semiconductors because huge news, obviously, for Nvidia being able to get back into China. AMD benefiting from this here this morning as well.
This is why I'm all about the little details, guys. And this is what it's all about. You have to be watching the talk. What was the recent talk in the negotiations with, of course, China? There was a slight mention of export controls being included in the negotiations. And that was really key. I started to see the semiconductor equipment stocks really start to move with this, right? Now you're starting to see more mentions coming from AMD and Nvidia that they're going to be allowed to sell these chips. There's a reason why. Trump is here playing nice with these export controls, and there's a reason why he can do it also, is that Biden was the one that brought these export controls on, so he can be the one that takes them off, use it as a part of this trade deal, and really start to push this AI move, right? Of course, China needs these chips also to get their AI move going. So, hey, this is all about Trump and China playing nice, and I think we continue to watch for more rhetoric coming out of export controls.
All right. As that aside, obviously the move here very positive for this entire group.
For sure.
How are we actually playing this? Is it an AMD story?
I mean, we were watching AMD for how long? 116 is when I started to mention out of the bull flag, right? I talked about how it could have its Nvidia moment. And the biggest part is I like AMD over Nvidia just for outperformance here, right? Because of course Nvidia is higher and has already had the move. If AMD can just get a tiny portion of this market, and that's what analysts were saying in the beginning of the year in the first place, but of course we went through that rut at the beginning of the year. That's what caused a lot of people stop watching AMD, and now the gas pedal is on. Now the only way to play it is looking for like short-term moving average pullback days and then playing it. We've been getting them on AMD. A couple pullbacks just ago, we had that 9 EMA grinding all over that, whether it was a 9 or a 12, whatever you're using. Just last week on Tuesday on the 8th, it was right on the 9, and what happens? Boom, you start to get it going. Whenever you're looking for these momentum moves, if you can't play the flyer, right? If you can't catch it on the fly, catch it on the pullback, use a moving average, and try to get after these names. It's not a bad way to get after it.
It feels like one of those moments, Mitch, where if you go back a few months, people were very surprised almost with the acceleration that Nvidia had, and then started looking around for other opportunities, as you mentioned, kind of like AMD. I mean, Broadcom back then was also raised to the forefront.
Yeah.
Is there somewhere else that we should be looking here right now?
Yeah, that's how I mentioned the semiconductor equipment stocks. These are the ones that are also taking off. KLAC was the first one. That had a long-term trend line break and has just continued going. These are also really pretty breakouts, and that's what you want to be watching for these tech moves, right? Nice clean breakouts. AMAT is another major player in there, Applied Materials. That's the one that I've been mentioning, had a really nice throwback look and has just continued off the short-term moving average. This another thing to do with the export controls, because these were the stocks that were going to be held back the most. And if you look at them, they've been on a real takeoff since early June, when we started to get more and more conversations of the trade deal.
All right, I want to get your thoughts on these rare earth stocks here. We had Google, of all companies, coming out of nowhere, saying they're going to invest a whole bunch of money in rare earth specifically. Sharif and I were just kind of going back and forth off camera here. Is it more one of those situations where they're planning for the future and assuming that, these are going to be hard to come by down the road, and just shoring up some long-term supply maybe?
Yeah, another thing of trying to follow the conversation, right? You heard in China, the trade talks were all about the rare earths. There's a reason why. Everyone knows that at the end of the day, things don't last forever. The materials aren't going to last forever. So we need to grab them and own them, especially if we're going into this big chip age where we're going to need to have all these kind of materials to continue growing. Right. And now I'm watching it go to everywhere. It's not just in gold. It's not just in silver. It's not just in uranium names. Now it's moving over to lithium names. You got names to look at long term. I really like SQM, but you can look at flyers like UUUU. It's 4 U's. Yes, I know. That's a little bit of a hard ticker to follow. But yeah, you guys can watch for moves in there. And it's actually helped the nuclear trade, nuclear strength coming off of this. But I'm watching also the black gold. What about the black gold? Does everybody know what that is? Come on, chat. I want to hear you guys buzzing. What could be the black gold? Of course, coal. Coal is not going away, guys. METC, really, really hot right now. And then I'm watching for a move on BTU right now to see if this can break out above the 1550s and then make a move towards the 18. But METC kind of leading the industry right now. And hey, the black gold is even in play. This also on the backs of the big, beautiful bill, which of course is going to help these kind of companies continue to be around and doing what they're doing right now. So, hey, I think this is something that you're starting to see in all materials. This also looks big inflationary in the long run. So I'd be a little concerned down the line if we continue to see this run in materials. But for right now, why not ride the wave and make some money?
Agreed. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum here. Retail back in focus a little bit. I mean, we're back in earnings season, so we're going to be getting a number of these coming up in the next few weeks here. Abercrombie specifically has been one of those stocks that wasn't really talked about, even going back to the beginning of the year, but has had a monster move once again. You like it because of some of the things Nike's doing.
Yeah, I mean, this is all about consumer sentiment changing. Whenever I'm looking for these big changes of trades, a lot of these have to do with fundamental analysis and looking in fundamental analysis, and all of a sudden something changing in the narrative. And what happened? Nike's report came in, and that earnings report changed the consumer sentiment. All of a sudden, people were like, oh, wait, the consumer isn't stop spending here, and it isn't slowing down. So there's certain stocks that are going to continue higher in the apparel space. Of course, there's still the tariff concern, but these stocks got a major discount with Liberation Day and the downside action, of course, that happened with the tariffs. And A&F was one of those companies that actually raised the guidance on their prior earnings versus ran away from even giving guidance. So this is one name that I could see it going back to that earnings pop, which 105.18. It's been slowly grinding. And when did this first start? On Friday, the 27th, when it broke that 84 of going out of the base into the 85. And this went right off the day of Nike's report. So we'll look for ANF to go ahead and keep climbing towards that 105.18.
All right, I like this guy because he comes prepared. Everybody listen up. Here comes a couple of swing ideas for you. Talk
Boom,
about
boom,
APLD and HIMS.
I don't know if you guys watched the home run derby last night, but boy, oh boy, there was some bombs being hit out there.
A catcher, Mitch?
Hey, honestly, I was shooting for Junior Camarino, of course, because he's a Rays player, but I know you guys are Jays fans, so we're going to have some talk when we're up there. But APLD is a great setup here, guys. Everyone's watching this name. I know retail's been in this name, and I keep seeing tons of like 10,000 share buys. That tells me something that I want to keep this one on the radar. So we'll see if this can get back above 10. I was watching this yesterday. Got a couple stop outs, 950, 940s, just kind of playing within it. But if it can really get above that 10, I think this can get hot. Of course, this has to do with CoreWeave. So we'd want to see CoreWeave kind of continue to not just fall out of the sky, right? It needs to kind of balance in here and start to go higher. But that's one way to look at this. And then HIMS is the next one, looking for the gap fill off of course, that down move that happened on NEVOs mentioned, right? Can it go back and fill that gap? I think this is one that could go, especially if we continue to rock and roll like we're doing in the markets right now. So HIMS, let's go for that gap fill. Another thing is health has been coming back. And so this is one of those that could just get that benefit of health coming back now and using that as a good target. It's a good gap to go for.
One of those days where there's so much going on, so many things moving around here pre-market. What are you looking at first today?
Yeah, I'm going to probably go for that cold trade right out the gates here, BTU, just because BTU hasn't gone in a long time, and when it goes, it's a momentum move. I always like stocks that are going to go with that quick drive, and then I can use that short-term moving average to just trail the price action and ride it higher. And there's a lot of those small names, high flyers, so if you guys like those, of course, I know you guys have seen those crazy names like BMNR, SBET, all those Ethereum high flyers. Those are going to still be in play, but there is one thing I would say is that I think Bitcoin needs a little bit of a pullback here. So this is the market where you really need to stay with the strength. Just look at your watch list. What's leading it every single day? Probably is going to be the stocks that continue leading it that day. I've been seeing it, and sometimes it's a shift. Yesterday, I saw nuclear come really strong back into play. So one more NNE out the gates today could be a great one. Looking for swing trades, guys. Have you seen the new swing accounts on Trade the Pool?
If they haven't, go scan that QR code, bottom right corner, right now.
Where's that at? Where we at? Right here, right here.
Other right. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Baby.
There it is.
Let's go.
There it is. Mitch Hoke over at Trade the Pool. Great insight as always. Thanks.
All right, traders.
Swinging.
Thank
Well,
you
I
very
mean,
much, Mitch.
I wasn't rooting for Junior Caminero. I was. I'm a pure baseball fan. I wanted to see O'Neal Cruz win, even though he's the laziest player in all of baseball. He's an absolute freak of nature, and he put on a show. The Derby's a lot of fun every now and then, but there was something, and it was a lot interesting that Mitch said. But one of the names, ANF in particular, has something going on that Obi and I were talking about.
Yes.
And there's this linear action to some things that we're seeing in the market. And what's interesting about it is and I've seen this many times, like since that bottom, there's a lot of stocks that are on like obvious trends or channels. You just don't normally see this happen. And you look at ANF, with the exception of an earnings move, right? It's held the bottom of the line since the April lows, and if you look at the trend has been generally held, except for an attempt to break it on earnings. Now it's poised to try to break this channel out, and it gets really spicy when we see things like this. Palantir, I may show you guys the example of Palantir on an up move, and it's just very, very linear, and it's not often that you see something like that, but if Palantir gets to the top or near the top of this range and pulls back in, until something like this stops getting observed. Like, you just want to be playing it. So I saw ANF doing that as a chance to break out. I mean, Palantir, we talk about all the time, I think has a chance to do some things. But very curious on a day where the market's blown out and there's so much good news. What do the analysts think on a day like today? Adara?
couple names of note here for sure. We're going to start with Otis. Sorry, I don't know why I said it like that. Otis up 1% with an upgrade from JP Morgan Chase. Strategy, formerly known as MicroStrategy, or MSTR, getting upgraded here by TD Cowen, though they're slightly down on the day in tandem with this Bitcoin pullback. Sports Trader here getting an upgrade from JMP Securities, and Warner Music Group with a Redburn Atlantic upgrade. On the downgrade side of things, kicking it off with Simulations Plus getting downgraded by Keycore. Keep an eye on American Express getting downgraded here by Vanessa Crespi and Hart. We know that there's been a lot of stories in that fintech and finance space lately, so certainly keep an eye on that. Carrier with a downgrade from JP Morgan Chase, and last but not least, DoorDash getting downgraded by Jefferies Financial. What are you guys looking at?
Yeah, out of those
despite
names,
the fact that Otis is the one name that you all know it, but nobody probably has ever looks at the stock. But trust me, you know the company really, really well because you've definitely been in an elevator, so you know you've been in that. No, what was okay? I have to admit, I was gonna go to MSTR, but before I get to MSTR, I have to read this news story. Because sometimes you got to put lipstick on a pig, and believe it or not, Mullen has found another way to, I guess, pump themselves up. They're combining. I had the story a second ago.
What is it this time?
No, they're changing their name and ticker because it was like they're combining businesses with. There's like a dump of news that just happened at 9 o'clock, so now I can't find it in there. Now I have to search for Mullen specifically. I'll get you the exact story because I don't want to. Mullen Automotive consolidates Mullen and Bollinger Motors operations, expects to update Nasdaq ticker symbol prior to August 15th.
Okay. So
this is the other way that Mullen is, I guess, trying to figure out how to get.
Look at that chart, man. Talk about like that, like repeat offender. I mean, yes.
We all know.
Beautiful swing short.
Let's be real. Let's be real. We all know the deal with this, but. Outside of the fact that I'm probably going to go pay for locates if I see a good opportunity to short Mullen today, MSTR I think is the one that you got to watch. But disappointing yesterday with Bitcoin and crypto in general. OB, like no question about it. The down move didn't really abate too much in Bitcoin. We're only chilling at 117, so we kind of have just. Let me go to the daily chart because I think it gives you a better example. I saw Joe talk about this too. Look at the topping tail that we just ended up with above 120 on Bitcoin. It feels as if the continuation would have you maybe pulling back and grinding into the prior high. This is what we've done before. We've done this before where you make a fresh high. Sometimes you get a topping tail, you hold. Sometimes you make a top and you pull back into prior support, hold, or you pull back into prior support and then dump. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the move we got. And I love us to do the consolidation and go. That's the more cool thing to be able to do. But if we continue to fall in here, you got to ask where the bid is going to come in. And I'm thinking firmly between this 109 and 112 if that's the case. And if that happens, I can see MSTR maybe retesting that 420 level. That was a nice key price area. Like you dip into prior highs, I think that's the next leg up for MSTR. But disappointing. There's stronger things out there than crypto. That's why MSTRs or strategies.
Yeah, no, right away my attention went to, MSTR with an upgrade, strategy with an upgrade. I want to check it out and see what it's doing. I was looking at it for the past couple of days here, Friday and on Monday right here with that little bit of a gap up we've seen on Bitcoin, but pulling back a little bit back. Is it back through 110? I think it was coming back into the teens last I checked. But yeah, a little bit of a pullback here. You can see expanding volume as we push a little bit higher. We've been getting a little bit of relative volume increase as well. Look at this bottom chart here with the bars. That's a relative volume, and you can see over the past couple of days we've experienced 2 times relative volume as we're bidding up. But a little bit of a breather, gapping into prior days lows today. But you can see trend support maybe much lower as of right now. So yeah, that 420 maybe potentially well within range for sure if we're going to come back down. But yeah, no, MSTR, sure, definitely on watch, but we'll see if it can kind of break that prior day's high at 456.40s or if it can come down into 420s here where this has been holding a little bit of support. Then and only then will it be a little bit more interesting to me. Here's our first super chat of the day, Neil. TD Baker asking us thoughts on where Hood is headed today. So yeah, let's go to the Hood and check out what's good. On this one, we know that yesterday I was definitely kind of involved in this one, 101 halves push. That's what I was looking for. Prior day highs, kind of a little bit of an area here as well from Wednesday, July the 2nd. We could not get past it, kind of defining that area as a little bit of a continued supply zone, but you can also see the buildup into it with a little bit of volume as well. So yeah, that 101, 102 high, I'm definitely gonna be watching for that today. If market strength kind of comes in, I think that's a good place to watch it for, but you can also see kind of a wide ranging trend here. I think well within range to kind of pull back into some of these anchors. Look, I have an anchored all the way here from that push from the end of last month. You can see that that's sitting at 95.50s for a potential retest. I have no idea, but if we're going to revert to the mean while we're kind of trending up and it's going to show us some healthy price action, I think these are places that we can definitely look for some interesting opportunities or price action for.
Yeah, I'm glad you answered that question because I'm kind of thinking the same thing. Similar thing on Hood. That's why it's not necessarily on my radar today. Like my first thought when we're up today is to look for some cleaner looking longs. Oh, yeah. It doesn't have me looking at that 100 double, triple failure that you have going on over there in Rob. It doesn't mean it's a bad stock, but because you can't complain when a stock is a triple up from the April low. But I think that's part of the reason why it's starting to run into a little bit of a hiccup. Let's see what's going on in the overall futures. Get into that watch list, everybody, as we go back to the desk.
We're above 6,300 again, guys. 6,310 is where we closed out yesterday on the ES September contract with that overnight high just a smidge below that key resistance level we've been talking about now for over a week. 6,350. We'll continue to use that as resistance as the overnight high, 6,343, Brendo. So a simple one today. The overnight low, 6,300 on the dot. That's your support.
If you have not done so yet, make sure you take a second, jump down to the description of this video right now. Top link in the description will get you to the sign up page for the watch list. Has everything that's moving around every single morning in the pre-market and why on it. All you have to do is enter your email address and then you can have it. It's free. If you missed it, yeah, Nvidia is up huge this morning. On this note, they're going to be able to go back into China with H20s. I mean, the entire group is benefiting from this morning. I mean, it was bound to happen if you were here for Mitch. Rewind. You don't great take. Just the control aspect of this was bound to change. It was the way that they went about changing it that's positive here.
And good lobbying by Jensen. We know he was at the White House on Friday, so good on him. So Nvidia announced Tuesday it expects to resume H20 shipments to China following assurances from the U.S. government that licenses will be granted. If you'll recall, the H20 was previously halted by U.S. export restrictions in April, despite actually being specifically designed to comply with earlier controls for export to China. So news of the resumed sales is a major positive catalyst, obviously, for Nvidia's China business, which has seen, Brendo, its market share cut by nearly half by these export curbs. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang recently increased lobbying efforts, arguing that export controls hurt AI leadership last week. Guys, screen, please. Huang met with President Trump to express support for onshoring and job creation while reiterating the need for U.S. dominance in AI. Nvidia confirmed it's also working on a different chip to complement its lower tier chip. The RTX Pro, Brendo, described as a fully compliant and optimized smart for factories and logistics. Analysts see Nvidia as hedging against future policy shifts while continuing to expand product depth in China. Huang is actually in China right now, Brendo, meeting with government and tech leaders discussing safe AI developments. Chinese manufacturers still prefer Nvidia chips, but they are giving a little bit more reliance on domestic alternatives that are not quite ready yet.
Trying to get back to day highs right now for Nvidia, guys, taking the entire market on its back here.
Absolutely, and this is what we're talking about, man. Like it was the one bargaining chip, and so it was almost certainly that this was going to get done and get done first is even better. So we'll talk about the China rally because I think these are directly related, even though there's some economic data that was good out of China. Can you trust it? Whatever. It's up because of the chips, in my opinion, and the likelihood of a deal. Look, Nvidia, there's no levels to look at. It's to the moon. You have essentially a blue sky setup, which means like you've made fresh highs in here. So as almost always, like what I wrote the node, I was kind of eyeballing the 170 area. But now that I look at it, I have to respect the volume weighted average price for dips. I don't want to be chasing a top on a gap up like this on Nvidia. I want to just go to the 15-minute chart to show you, for the most part, like Nvidia at the open, one day it just rips up clean. The next day it dumps and then gives you a beautiful reversion. Then the next day it rips up clean, and the next day it dumps and gives you a beautiful reversion. So, I mean, all this is telling you is you've got to be prepared for both. If you want Nvidia long, then, you know, the breakout trades, which are fantastic, it's all well and good to say, well, okay, well, then you just take a 173 break. Well, that's the obvious kind of thing to do. And if it goes like Tesla, you did yesterday, make sure you take your profit in case it pulls back. But the other side would be, of course, the dip. Like if it does one of these at the open, some profit taking, you're really just having to be patient. On a 15, most of the time it's done that move, you're really, really patient back in. So I'm thinking the 171's the first look, but you got to look for a mean reversion play. The other thing that's on my mind, like AMD and SMCI are both in play off of this. SMCI in particular, because of this level on the daily chart where it's now gapping away from another long consolidation, and I got 50, it's like 50 half to 51 is the top of that range. So if we go dipping, that's dipping into prior highs, which is just a normal breakout setup. So that's strong. And AMD has literally the same setup at the 151 level as well. So I have all three chips up, but I'll probably focus on SMCI and Nvidia. I mean, Nvidia's setting up a clean break, but remember, it could fail that breakout and then we get a dip. That's exactly what Tesla gave us yesterday. Yesterday, Tesla was a 319 breakout into a 312 dip. It wouldn't surprise me if Nvidia gave you a bit of both as well.
Yeah, no, I think definitely number one stock on my watch list after the news last night. Doing some decent relative volume, 4 times gapping up, and I think Neil points out something interesting here. Yes, we've been trending up generally, but a little bit of a shake and bake back to back, where you get those strong days, both to the upside, then to the downside, to the upside, to the downside. Today we're finally gapping up above that kind of chop consolidation, trend up, whatever you want to call it. Fresh all-time highs, 170s. Can we get to 175 is the question, and right away I am going to drop an anchored here on top of this right here. So again, it will be session anchored, will be the same thing as the anchored VWAP on this one. But again, I do want this anchor to stay on this chart even after today, because this is, again, it's an event that we're gapping up on, and again, it's confirmed with some volume as well. So pretty tight range, 171 to 172, 81s here. Prior kind of levels I'm seeing right off the bat, that prior high is at 167.89, where we kind of pulled back from. You can see selling and then continuation right off of the open yesterday from that 168 high on Nvidia. So I don't know what we're going to do off of the open, no idea, but I am definitely watching it. Let's look for a potential continuation off of that sentiment. But like Neil said, I think the reversion, you don't want to take your mind off of a potential reversion as well. I think that's well within range. So that's a look on Nvidia.
All right, TTD, the trade desk, going into the S&P, up big time on that so far this morning. It did actually just break that last support, but came right back up again, so that's good to see. TTD, if you're not aware, is an advertising platform, so maybe this is a good sign for all things ad-based. I mean, they're having a pretty good year anyway.
They are. It's a good looking name here, Brendo. So they jumped 14% after hours trading. After news broke that it will join the S&P 500. The addition is effective on Friday, Brendo. It replaces this company called Ansys, which is being acquired by Synopsys in a $35 billion deal, which closes Thursday, hence why they're being added Friday. Index additions, though, Brendo, typically trigger buying ETFs and passive funds, creating upside momentum. Trade Desk's $37 billion market cap places it kind of in the middle of the S&P 500 valuation. While most index changes occur during scheduled quarter rebalancing, acquisitions allow off-cycle additions. In this case, that's what we're getting here, and that's what we got with Datadog, which replaced Juniper Networks after it was acquired as well. So despite this, Trade Desk is down about 36% year to date, but look at what it did in 24. 63% increase increase in 24, Brendo, in addition to the 61% increase that it had in 2023. Just to give you some information on the company, founded in 2009 by Jeff Green and David Pickles. It's a leading digital ad platform, as you mentioned, with Amazon and Google in programmatic advertising. It went public back in 2016 on the Nasdaq, and it has about 3,500 employees.
Yeah.
And it's centered out of Ventura, California.
Yeah, one of this group specifically was one of the hardest hit with the tariffs going back to the beginning of the year, but this thing's had a pretty impressive rebound. I mean, we're, clearing this morning, but this is a weekly chart, held the 2023 lows nicely, guys, if you go out too long term.
Yeah, this is a solid looking chart there. Yeah, no, I'm definitely 10 toes down with this one.
Be more mature, Obi.
I am.
You should see Obi's face when Sharif said the founder's name was Gary Pickles. That's all I'm
I
saying.
mean, he just said it with such a straight face. I wasn't expecting it. I was caught off guard and, I had a little bit of a chuckle. I'm like, yeah, that's a cool name.
What's the man's name?
Pickles.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, anyways, I was going to say, 10 toes down with this one here. Again, it was the top idea last night, and then after the Nvidia news came out, I'm like, all right, Nvidia and the chips have to go a little bit more than this one, but an S&P 500 ad, we've seen some good ones in the past couple of years. We're gapping up pretty aggressively. I already have the anchored VWAP kind of pinned to the reaction right there. We came into it not really respecting it to the T as of right now, so just watching that current local low in the pre-market is sitting at 84.88 with that anchored VWAP sitting at 85.45. So a little bit of a wash there. Let's see. The thing is, it's just a line on the chart. The idea is, can we identify a bid and get along with the ride if we're going to continue to trend up? Or if the bid isn't really there, do we get short or do we stay away? Those are the questions that I'm asking. Increasing volume coming into the open. Trade desk higher time frame just jumping up to a 3-hour right away. You can see this thing has been trending quite nicely. Oh boy. See, I didn't even know I had this anchored on from this aggressive quadunk that, is that candle real? No, that's just a line there. So yeah, that aggressive dump that we had from the earnings report, February 2025. So earlier this year, you can see it kind of reclaimed and held pretty well, and now finally getting a little bit of a push back above, bigger picture reversion perhaps as well on that S&P 500 ad. So I like the picture here. Nice little curl up, rounded bottom if you want to call it. Reclaim that anchored VWAP. Double bottoms on 65s. That's beautiful. Let's see if we can get that continuation coming into today.
Yeah, continuation that at least for one day Datadog had when it got at the announcement that it was going to be added. Now, obviously, this played out a little differently after the fact, but on that actual gap up day, you got a nice continuation play. It did dip. Here's the thing. It did dip at the open and held the pre-market support. So dipped into pre-market support, Datadog did, and continued to rally. Every day after that, with the exception of yesterday, it's been a sell. So with that, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's just focus on today for now, and then we'll worry about what happens after this thing gets added. So I'm with Obi. The chip names and MP and Palantir might be higher on the list, but if we go by that pattern, as long as it can hold that pre-market low, we saw the secondary push that Datadog has done and other stocks have done with this ad. It certainly caught some people off guard, I think, because this was in a downtrend. It was at a big resistance spot. So there's likely to be at least a few enough people offside that after that potential opening selling like you saw when Datadog added, as long as it can hold on to this area, I think if reasonably speaking, I'd say if it's holding 84.5, then I'm not too worried about the gap fill on TTD. But you got to watch this one when it opens up. It's got good volume, but it's not the most liquidity when you look at the level 2 right now. So I think you want to be patient with it. There's so much to look at in here today. I mean, we're not even halfway through at 39.18. We got the bank earnings to talk about. Big numbers. What up with the movement, though?
Yeah, not much to look at as far as price action here for big banks. That's JP Morgan. Flat, essentially, at this point. Went up, went down, came right back to where it started. Just a measly 4.3 trillion AUM for JP Morgan. I say that because go look at BlackRock's number. So was it $12.5 trillion under management for
We're
BlackRock?
using the T word a lot more these days, aren't we?
Yeah, we're getting there. That's for sure.
All right, let's talk about how they did, guys. $5.25 EPS, $5.24 earnings per share versus the $4.48 expected by the street. That was boosted by $774 million tax benefit, which added about 28 cents per share to that $5.25. Revenue came in at $45.68 billion. That was ahead of the $44.06 guided by the street. It was driven by strong fixed income trading and investment banking performance, so good look there. Despite beating estimates, though, earnings fell, Brendo, 17% year over year. There's a reason for that. There was a $7.9 billion Visa gain that they realized last quarter or last year, and so that obviously skews the numbers. That was as a result of an early investment that JPM had in Class B shares in Visa before it went public, and they realized some of those. The year-over-year declines in revenue, it does matter. So revenue fell about 10% year over year, but excluding last year's Visa-related gains, the underlying performance showed solid growth. Core business strength in markets and advisory services offset weakness elsewhere. That's a theme to watch across all banks' earnings. And Jamie Dimon, he called the Q2 results resilient, but he did flag some macro concerns here, Brendo. He talked about trade policy uncertainty, geopolitical instability, and the rising U.S. fiscal deficits, stuff we've been hearing a lot about lately.
Much discussed on this show. Here's the weekly chart. If you go to a higher time frame of anything, basically in this group, you'll see why we might be getting a little bit of selling here, guys, for the bank.
Yeah, well, I mean, Jamie Dimon doesn't always have to say that he's scared of all of the negativity out there. It just feels as if he's being overly cautious, which has been the tone throughout the entire year. Like he's been saying this the whole time while the stock has been just going and flying. His stock has been flying. Look, I think it's the case, and we've seen this before in bank earnings. We just seem to not be impressed with the money that they're printing because it's blah action. And I think a lot of times what we have on the earnings will be let that blah stop and then the rally comes in. Now, I was sort of pegged, when it was on the way down, I was pegged to, well, I think you got to let it get into the low 280s there for obvious reasons. Prior high, there's your support. I don't know that you get that far on JP Morgan, but I do know that that's the only one. I shouldn't say the only one. If I was going to look for one alongside, it's JP or Citi. Like Citi's actually breaking out and looking very strong in here on its dip. But Wells Fargo, that's a no-fly zone for me on Wells, just trending down the whole way. It's got a bit of a buyer sitting here at 81 if that somehow interests you. But it's just a little bit different. Like it's got a double top, want to stay away from it. If nothing is going on the chips, let's put it that way. If nothing's going on the chips or Palantir that's on the note or MP, then I can see myself trying to wait out JPM on a dip into the low 280s or trying to catch something on Citigroup. I think the numbers are really good. We've seen this action before where there's a muted response. They have to digest the calls, and then we can go rallying and trending throughout the day.
3 banks on watch, like I mentioned, Wells Fargo. Sorry. So three banks on watch, like I said before, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, and JPM. Looking at Citi, looking distinctly different. There, a little bit more of a bid happening on Citigroup. Let's take a quick look at the hourly as well on a few of these banks and see how they've been setting up. I know that XLF has been pretty looking very nice here as well. So yeah, Citigroup, nice strong trend that we've been getting again from those April lows. Very similar story on a lot of stocks here, but yeah, coming back into some prior levels here, pretty strong. You can see this consolidation that we're building up in off of as well. So yeah, pretty decent report with that double beat and that continuation happening right now here in Citigroup as well. Quick look at JPM, kind of a similar story here. Bid from April, holding trend really well, but you can see a little bit more aggressive selling in the more recent weeks here, bringing us back down in towards these trending range lows, it would seem. But yeah, let's see if we can kind of reclaim some of these earnings reaction high levels. That's sitting at 295.32 with that most recent high that we sold off of sitting at 296.44. So only about a few points away from there on JPM. And of course, WFC Wells Fargo looking a little bit different as we did push that more recent high here, and selling coming in pretty aggressively. So yeah, this chart to me on Wells Fargo looking a little bit different because of what it's been doing more recently and what it just did off of that earnings reaction. A little bit of a lick grab of that prior high. Let's see if we can kind of maybe travel a little bit lower using some of these prior levels here as well. You can see that consolidation that we've been holding for the past couple of weeks or so, maybe in and around that 81.5. We're holding that as of right now, trading just up against it on Wells Fargo. So lots to watch out for. Banks, definitely, I have them up. I'm going to be watching them throughout the day. But like I said, there's definitely a lot on the docket today. Let's see what is up with China.
It's up into one. All right, China, huge moves to the upside here. I want to mention this real quick, though. Joby, this is a daily chart, looking great. I mean, even if you zoom out, this might have been the breakout on Joby. Anyway, they just announced they're doubling their production in Marina, California to 435,500 square feet. They're going to produce 24 of these things a year and also have a certified training facility, pilot training facility on site for this as well. So Joby looking pretty good. There's Alibaba, not really doing a heck of a lot. We're just way up here this morning. Everything China benefiting from this announcement last night.
Yeah, especially Baba. They're going to be able to get their hands on some chips here and increase that Quen. That's their LLM. So China's economy, Brendo, grew by 5.2% in Q2 of this year. That surpassed expectations of 5%. So a good look there. And they've been spending a lot of money on stimulus to kind of boost that economy, and that will actually allow their fiscal health to get a little bit more in order if they're not having to spend so much on stimulus. We're expecting, guys, a possible deal between the United States and China for, I think, August 12th. That's a tentative date there. But economists warn of underlying vulnerabilities and suggest fiscal stimulus may still be needed in China if a deal doesn't get done.
We'll touch on Baidu and Uber coming up here in a second, guys. The rest of them, though, is there a trade?
Like for Alibaba, at least, like just very quickly, imbalances came out. Nvidia sell 700,000, pretty small. BBAI close to 600,000 buy. AMD about a 300,000 sell. So nothing crazy. MP Materials 230,000 to buy. Not really. If anything was gigantic, we'd certainly let you know. Look, Alibaba, you can eyeball it. Sometimes I don't have to draw a trend line. You can eyeball that it's broken the trend line. That said, it's right into 115 resistance. When I zoom to 15, this is far enough out. It's right into 115 resistance. It's not really moving. When we gap up this far on the Chinese ADRs, I don't trust them. I've seen this story before with Alibaba. I think any kind of a dip, unlike if we dip through, I'm buying chip stocks on the way back down. But I think if we get to 112, that's where I get interested. That's why it didn't make my note. I tend to never trust these off the open when they're gapped up this far. So I'm going to stay away, focus on the chips. If we end up down around the 112 level or so at some point, then I could take a look at it. But otherwise, I'll sit out the Chinese names at these levels, or at least Alibaba, which is the only one that I really trade.
Yeah, I mean, when it says China rally, my first reaction is to just go to the FXI, because guess what? We've been rallying from the beginning of 2024. An aggressive bid coming in here again on that April dip, and almost back at highs here on the FXI, 38.19 I have. So yeah, a little bit of a gap up here, and we're seeing that reflected in some of the ADRs as well. Where will we go? I have no idea. But yeah, let's see if we can break through that high. If the FXI can distinctly break through that high, then yeah, I think there may be opportunities on the board with some of those ADRs and the constituents that are in the Hang Seng as well. So something to watch out for sure. I think that we were talking about earlier that some of these companies are definitely going to be benefiting with the chips that are going to be coming in. So yeah, definitely ones to watch out for. But the rally has already been there very, very strong from the beginning of the year.
Quickly here, Uber and Baidu going to be teaming up here. Uber not really doing a heck of a lot. Nicely positive on the day, trying to hold 95, which was that last low on the way down. It's worth noting a whole bunch of analysts with positive notes yesterday on this announcement.
There you go, Brendo. Thousands of Chinese of the Chinese companies' autonomous vehicles are going to be across the globe. They're going to start out here in Asia and the Middle East first. It's going to be for autonomous vehicles, obviously. Uber and Baidu do a nice deal here, and you like to see Uber kind of flow with the autonomous push and not just stick to current business. I like this look, Brent.
Yeah, not a lot of volume though, guys, for Uber today. Is there a trade?
I'm not really, you know what, look, Uber, you can make the strong argument that absolutely it's a bounce off of prior resistance at 93.5, and let's go back into the highs. I don't know how much that catalyst excites me away from looking at some other names, but on the normal logic, it seems like it's a reversal of a small downward trend off the highs on Uber. I was looking at MP, and even though I want to be ridiculously patient with the MP Materials story, Apple announcing a $500 million deal for product to buy from rare earth magnets from the Fort Worth facility. It's done squeezes before, and I understand the last couple of gaps up, it's had big reversions after big moves in the pre-market or at the open. And it's been a huge down move. So if that happens, I'm just looking back into the 50 to 51 for a dip. Don't want to chase it because we've seen these. This is pre-market that it did it last time. This was right away at the open that it faded. But those bounces have been somewhat solid, and I'm looking for it to come back into the prior highs or an MP. So only so many level twos that you can have up. So in addition to the chip names that we talked about, my eyes are going to be on MP, obviously Palantir as well, if that can take out that 150 level. As oh boy, OB, it's Tuesday. We got a lot going on. We even talk about the Fed speakers later in the day. And Adair, let's ring that bell.
Hey, let's go. Let's see what Nvidia, Trade Desk, and a few other names have in store for us. I'm watching a little bit of everything, and good luck to you all as well. Oh boy, Trade Desk with that slap into the bid, instantly trading back below 85s here as well. So yeah, just going to continue watching this one a little bit. Nvidia still holding 171.5. Let's see if we get a little bit of a pullback. Can we find a bid? That's the question that I'm asking. And will it come in long and strong off of the open?
Oh.
The futures definitely are, Neil.
I know you didn't just say it. The futures definitely looking strong. MP starting to pull back. SMCI is pulling back. Oh goodness, Tesla. Did Tesla just do it again? Tesla just broke the 320 and then immediately reversed. So couldn't break the 321. It did this yesterday and was a bit of a flush zone. So just be careful with this. It lost that very, very quickly off the open. Oh my goodness, Palantir already? Already Palantir 150? Now remember, if it fails this breakout, like anything else, I do not want to hold it forever. But Palantir absolutely tearing its way into the 150 level. I also like the dip into 147, so I guess we're not going to break. It just came right back through 149. So Palantir made a shot at it, went right to 149.99.
Oh boy.
149.99 on Palantir. Now the dip is starting to come in there.
170
So, look, I was going to take the break. Now we got to wait for that 147 area. Now that we're going to be dipping in there, SMCI is not doing much. Nvidia is down at the 170. This is where patience becomes an absolute virtue, everybody, because Nvidia, Palantir, all these names starting to come right back. And I had the breakout set up, but the other thing to look for is the mean reversal if it does a dip. It was trend down for like 15 minutes yesterday before it caught a bid. So how much patience do you have? Is going to be the question here in NVDA.
Oh boy, so yeah, that TTD is looking pretty decent there, holding that 85, holding a little bit of that anchored. Let's see if we can hold with any sort of distinction. Nvidia pulling back pretty aggressively into that 170, 169s now happening. So we talked about that prior high from a couple days ago being 168. Let's see if that resistance can turn into support. Oh boy, though, this market tailwind is definitely a little bit to the upside, so I'm watching that pretty closely as well. So yeah, 170s, we're going to let that chop and churn and maybe give us some direction as of right now. A little bit involved in Trade Desk, but again, seems like it might just stop me out as well. That 85, got to be a little bit of a defense. That's what I'm looking for. And there you go, stopped out on that one there. Where is the next trade? I'm watching Nvidia. I'm watching Trade Desk. I keep thinking 10 toes. I don't know why. I just call it 10 toes.
What?
10 toes down. TTD. It's just like I don't know. It's like a thing that people say.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. No, look, man, I'm old. There's lots of things that I don't know and don't get. So, like, yeah, I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah.
10 toes down?
Yeah.
Okay, at some point, someone's gonna, or I'll look it up, or someone can explain to me why that's a thing. So very quickly, see, now that's in my head for a sec. MP Materials is what I was gonna mention, has broken out. It just tagged 56, 56 and a half, 180, because I like Darts is a fun game. It's a blue sky setup. It's a squeeze play. Yada, yada, yada. I don't know how far it's going to go, so I'm going to see if it can. It's already got one test of 56 that failed. So the way I see it is if it closes or gets on back underneath the 56 level, that's a breakout that I'm willing to jump out of. So let's just do that. I thought Palantir was going to be a break, and we're ready to go dip and rip or breakout on Palantir. Yeah, NP's starting to lose it. Gimme doesn't always get. All right, there we go. I just got at 56. Again, after seeing what happened in Palantir, I thought, let's be a little bit, yeah. The market's headed back in. These breaks have all failed, at least early on. So let's just get out of that one, take the win early, and see if we can't get another dip buy on MP Materials. But while that was happening, and while I was kind of looking at Palantir, look at the bottoming tail on Nvidia.
Yeah, a little bit of a
oh my goodness, it gets almost perfect at 170, but you can only look at one thing at a time.
Yes, sir.
That's the opportunity cost of taking that quick dollar on MP is that you don't get, and that move, it gives you that quick dollar. If you get it, it's coming right back in to the downside here in Nvidia. So they're still essentially taking profits. There hasn't really been a green candle. I'm not canceling. If we close under 170, I'll cancel my 173 breakout at that point. Usually I would have canceled the breakout trade by now. But I'm just going to be, like I said, very, very patient with this reversion play. As SMCI is coming back in heavily, obviously we've talked a little bit about Palantir that had that 150 fail. The market failed break of the high and pulling back in. That's where the patience comes in.
Oh boy, yeah, look at that flush coming into the market. Oh my God. So aggressive selling coming in to 935. So yeah, 84s is what I'm watching here on Trade Desk. Again, we traded below that anchored VWAP, holding a little bit lower here. Market tailwind not really on our side, but oh boy, that Nvidia, that 170 hold was quite nice. Doing a little bit of a chop on top of VWAP here. What is VWAP specifically, you may ask? It's sitting at 170, 130s. That's exactly where Nvidia is trading around right now. And oh boy, getting stopped out once again on that trade desk. No. All right, I'm gonna give it a little bit of some more room here. Let's see. Again, if sellers are gonna be in charge right off the open, I'm gonna be like, all right, cool. Let me kind of wait for that confirmation of potential buying. Until then, I'll try to keep it light and tight there. There goes Nvidia. Potentially right there. So pre-market highs on Nvidia sitting at 172.81, currently trading $1 away from that. So gonna keep eyes on that one. Again, I think it's gonna present us with a lot of opportunity. Don't have to be the first. Don't necessarily gonna try not to be the last either. But I think after some of the price action has kind of formulated and printed itself, we might find some more cleaner and I guess more desirable places to get involved with.
Oh, no question about it. Like there's going to be other opportunities out there. As distracted as Sharif dropping something. No, but speaking of dropping, look, Palantir is looking like it does not want to hold. It almost came to that 147 that I wanted. But topping tail and bottoming tail candles, that just leads me to stay away, at least for now. Nvidia looks a little distinctly different. Okay, that's what we're doing. It looks a little distinctly different as it's setting up to break out that 173. I'm now sitting off this higher low to try to grab 171s on the way back in and give it to this higher low. So VWAP, whatever you want to call it, that 171, that's where my eyeballs are. Okay, that chart's back now. I don't have the executions on it. So I'm playing it both ways here. I'm willing to take the break of the 173 still, and I missed the dip buy at 170 to go into MP, which is flying. But let's see if we can snag our way into Nvidia. My bids are out. The other chip name I was looking at, I know some people were looking at AMD as a rising tide lifting all ships kind of play here for the chips. But similar thing with SMCI, as long as it's above 51, I think that's along too. This is in the midst of the market pulling back. You're seeing Nvidia catch a nice little bounce and a rounded bottom. SMCI catching a little bounce and a rounded bottom as well. I think these look fantastic, both of them. Whichever one gives me the dip first, it actually might not be Nvidia at this rate. VWAP looking pretty clean. I might nibble in on SMCI. Always wanted to have a second one in my plans if the first didn't fit exactly the execution plan that I wanted. As far as Palantir goes, all weighted out. Oh, I know some people are looking at Tesla. I do have Tesla up on a side chart, even though it wasn't part of the original, like the early plan. That 320 is a problem. It just can't seem to hold above 320 bucks. Look at these topping tail candles. If it closes above 320, a candle above 320, then I think it looks much more constructive for long. But my open is going to be about the chips and if I can get back into MP.
Yeah, no, again, I'm waiting for, my idea wasn't necessarily get short. I was definitely not, I guess, willing to flip just yet on it. Again, I'm watching Nvidia 172s potentially coming, 173s on a trade desk, and the market still printing that first 15-minute candle to the downside as of right now. So yeah, market tailwind definitely not on the side of the trade desk, as it kind of gets, I guess, put all the way back down to some of those prior levels. I'm watching that 82, 83 area right now as it kind of churns. Some size potentially chasing it down as well. So let me pull up the book for you guys here so you guys can kind of follow along TTD on the Nasdaq and pull that book up a little bit there. So you can see this buddy over here on the MEMEX kind of chasing it down a little bit there. So I'm watching that aggressive seller who's clearly not getting filled. Let's see if Buddy can kind of get filled with any sort of distinction as of right now. Oh, there's a little bit of a bid as I'm talking coming in right here on the trade desk. Let's see if we can kind of reclaim that 84s with any sort of distinction. VWAP, oh boy, that's coming in just around 85, specifically 84.90s. Can we get a little bit of a reversion to VWAP on that one? That's what I'm looking for. A little bit of a pullback here on Nvidia as well. Okay, so we clipped some 84s, not really seeing right that follow through as of right now. Look at that market, man. Oh boy.
It's really coming in here.
Just rip City to the downside right here. Just bids getting ripped through. So, oh boy. Let us know what you guys are trading.
No, boy is correct. That was a clean 171 bounce on Nvidia, but the second it got to the $0.50, they sold aggressively. I was going to say something. You know what? No, out. Get out of this thing, Neil, and get out of SMCI if we lose the 52, which it's doing right now. I'm jumping out of these until we can kind of resolve. I don't like the price action here. I want to see us stair-stepping to the upside. That's a good bottoming tail candle, but I just looked over, and when I saw the Nasdaq breaking down through the lows in this moment, let's close on strength. I've been on the front end of that trade way too many times where I'm getting it on the way down. Fair enough, it worked, and then we kind of get out just about break even. But that doesn't mean I want to be fighting this one too hard. I think if we can close above, we can always jump back in. I'll still take the break at all that good stuff. It's looking a little better now, so I can always jump back into the trade. So the scalp off the 71, it's looking better. I'll probably go into it again. I haven't seen what Trade Desk is doing over there, Obi, but I can tell you, there's a bunch of things I'm looking at that are, like Tesla. My goodness, that 320. This 320 is a problem on Tesla, everybody. I can't tell you how many times. I have a 3-minute chart up, so it actually might be more than this, the sheer number of times that it's failed underneath. But someone's selling this at that price, and until it can close above, you just got to. I think you got to stay away. Palantir, I will have a quick look at after we resolve those chips. I did jump back in after we opened up a VWAP, and now I have a lower high to work off of on Nvidia, which is about 170.80. So I'll give it into. Essentially give it into that bottom and see if we can't play into the highs. Yeah, I'm feeling comfortable about Nvidia, or a little bit more comfortable with that VWAP hold, but I have to acknowledge this. I saw someone say in the chat that AMD is better.
Really?
And you're right.
Oh, AMD actually,
you're right.
Actually went.
AMD's up 7.5%, and sometimes you're looking left and they go right. That's the best way to think about it. SMCI is up 5 points, and it's going back into the high. And look, NVIDIA, yay, NVIDIA. Let's go see if you can get the $0.50.
Yeah, a little bit of a lackluster move on Nvidia, and I kind of I watched that 170 test and push, and I was like, all right, well, if I miss the long off of 170, then I definitely have to wait a little bit longer on that one to potentially come in. But with the market tailwind going the way that it is, I'm going to be a little bit more patient on that Nvidia. But yeah, oh boy, Nvidia seems like it might have not been the one, and advanced money was definitely the one one as it is defending a little bit of those highs there. So yeah, let's take a quick look at what AMD is up to as well. Let me pull up my chart here, and I'm curious as well. Oh boy, look at that Uber. Uber coming right in. This is what I said. I don't think I really said anything about Uber on that last I guess rundown there, but I was like, okay, well, I'm not really seeing anything on Uber unless and until they can kind of get back up above this line right here, this trend resistance, a little bit of lower lows and lower highs as well as we pull back into some prior anchors. So keeping an eye on this one as well. Let's see what Adara is up to with some news.
Here is CYCC. This is a small cap. I couldn't find any news on Cyclocell, but it has rallied in the past. Apparently, pretty decent short float as far as I can tell, so keep an eye on CYCC. Again, because it's rallied in the past, there's also potentially some retail investors or other investors keeping an eye on this name. It's worth noting we don't have any 10 a.m. data, though Wells Fargo's earnings call will start at 10 a.m. However, keep an eye at 2:30 p.m. We're going to have Donald Trump, of course, U.S. president, attending this AI and energy-related event in Pennsylvania. We know a couple companies, including CoreWeave and Google, did announce, I guess, Pennsylvania-based AI-related investments today. Back to you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, SMCI. Thanks a lot, MP. No, look, MP, sometimes this is how it is, but yeah, MP, these can't, like that kind of a topping tail candle through 57 and then back through 56. Like, it's wild. And look, the stock has $3 candles off the open and then another $2 candle. So you're going to get some shakeout. It happens. I'll try to get back in on trend. Nvidia is barely holding on to VWAP, while AMD and SMCI are looking distinctly different, everybody. Jag is asking why the market's falling.
Is it
Gap up, profit taking. There's a lot of things that I think it could be, but I don't know that you can just lean into the notion that the market is falling. We just held the overnight lows or the pre-market lows, however you want to describe them, and we're actually coming back up to the top. So there's strength in here, no questions asked, and it's coming right back into the market. I'm not done with looking. I'm looking long first. Oh, sorry, Jag, I missed your first comment. Apologies if I missed your first comment. Sometimes it's going through the chat. I get a chance to look up, and I didn't see what you said before there. So apologies if I misinterpreted. But I just want this to get to the pre-market high so I can cover Nvidia, and then we can go into the breakout trade. Is that really asking too much? Rhetorically, as I say that out loud in hopes that it will now break 172, but it's not doing it. So look, I still like these chip names. Boy. We had to wait this one after we missed the 170. So I guess I'm looking for a reload off 71, but begrudgingly admitting that the real party is an SMCI, which I should be in.
We kind of talked about this earlier today, being like there's going to be a lot of eyes on a lot of these stocks that, again, are making moves, like the Nvidias and the AMDs, but people might not have eyes on some of the other sector names that that the chips are a part of, or the fact that China is going to be getting these chips. We heard Mitch talk about it as well. Some of the infrastructure names as well or AI architecture names as well. So again, I think there's definitely opportunity across the board here. That's why I'm curious to know, what are you guys trading? Crap Stock in the chat saying $3 in the money on AMD. Good stuff, man. Solid stuff. Good stock selection there on that one. Currently, I am still watching this trade desk here as it kind of chops and churns on its way potentially back towards VWAP here, but I have no idea. We'll wait and see if that'll come into fruition as of right now. Selling coming in pretty nicely off of the open there, but again, S&P 500 add down at the lows as well, looking distinctly different. Last time we had a Datadog, and that was pushing its highs, and oh boy, there goes SMCI. I'm looking at your chart, Neil, and I'm just like, oh, that is a beautiful continuation here. I'm not watching my chip basket as of right now, but oh boy, was that a bit of a mistake. AMD still strong.
It's crazy because it is SMCI, and it's gonna happen. We got the scalp trade. I'll go back in a second, but I have to always show it first. It's not that you don't get the wins on Nvidia. Like, we're able to get a tight stop and you're getting these bounces into the $0.50, but obviously SMCI on the dip was better at VWAP than Nvidia in that moment. There's no question about that. Like, as long as I think if you had a secondary play, AMD and SMCI clearly the ones. This was my secondary play, but you see me over there in Nvidia. like it's Nvidia was a small win, but like it was a huge win if you could play SMCI. But I can tell you right now, everybody, especially if you're in Canada, Canadian traders, if you're looking for boosting your exposure, you can tap into the Nasdaq 100 and S&P 500 with Beta Pro's 3x daily leveraged ETFs featuring built-in FX hedging. This aims to amplify short-term market moves, minimizing the impact of currency swings. Whether you're feeling bullish, bearish, these ETFs are built for active day traders ready to take on the market. Read the full risk disclosure in the prospectus at betapro.ca before investing. Shout out to Beta Pro, brought to you by Globax. Scan the QR code, and let's go to Adara at the desk. My goodness, SMCI.
Yeah, keep an eye here on AEI. This is all set. Not a ton of volume on this move. It's under 200,000 shares, but worth watching here. Ragnarok Research just released a note saying that they are actually I guess they're long the stock and they're issuing as a long idea. So I guess the opposite of a short report, a long report, if you will, on AEI from Ragnarok Research. Back to you.
Yeah, I'll be that one's gonna haunt me. Ragnarok Research. Of course, all I think of is Store Ragnarok for obvious reason. What's interesting here, everybody, is the market is still pressing back a little bit. Like we got to bounce off the lows, but overall, don't change the bull.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
It was on its face. That's why I was like, maybe that's why we're not bidding up.
Not
that's
yet.
why I was just making
Not
sure.
yet.
Making sure, dude.
But we just lost VWAP, and we're still pulling back. Obviously, you can still see as long as we hold the pre-market lows or a lower high or a higher low, I should say, everything is looking just fine. But this is not a moment to FOMO, right? FOMO would be me buying SMCI right now because of where we got out earlier. But I'm not going to do it. Nvidia is going back into 170. SMCI looks a little stronger. Pulling back into the prior higher. VWAP is usually the plan of action. That's where we want to be. MP is also in beast mode. That was another scalp trade that just continued to go. But some of the candles were, like the opening candle, I expect that nonsense. I don't expect that on the second 3-minute candle, and it was wild. But MP's on one, 19% to the upside, everybody, as it looks pretty crazy. Palantir, yeah, buddy. Okay. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again. We're getting a little V-shape in Palantir. I want inventory. If it breaks 150 right away at the open, I take 150s. That's how it is. But as we go into it at this time, this is where I want inventory. I steal it from Obi. I just want to get into it going into the 150 level. So close above VWAP, because I don't see Nvidia setting up as I look at it break the 170 level. Close this above VWAP, and I want to go long into the 150. Then I don't have to worry about the breakout trade, Obi.
Yeah.
I can take it and add to it if I want to. I can decide I don't like what it looks like when it gets there. So I want to close Palantir above VWAP, look for the long into the 150 level. And NVIDIA is just going to have to settle itself down, everybody. And as it drags itself down, like look at NVIDIA trying to break lower, it's right to get out of it.
170, dude.
And I think that 170 level just didn't hold. Well, SMCI or AMD, this could be a chance to get into VWAP on SMCI. For anybody out there trading AMD, it's barely even pulling back. So if it's stronger, this could give you a chance. If NVIDIA bounces off the lows and the market holds here, then you get the dip buy in one of the chip names of your preference. As I said, my secondary is going to be SMCI, so that's where I'm looking.
Yeah, this trade desk getting a little bit choppy here. Again, aggressive selling to the downside, aggressive bidding back up. I'm just like, all right, well, that's a aggressive chop to potentially kind of get involved with. But again, reversion to VWAP. Let's see if that'll come in. We're holding some higher lows as well, and the market seems to have caught a little bit of a breather here from the selling that we got aggressively off of the open. So watching all of these in step. But let's see what Adara has to say with some news.
Donald Trump here posted on Truth Social just 2 minutes ago. He said, and I'm just going to read the post, "Great deal, comma, for everybody, comma, just made with Indonesia. I dealt directly with their highly respected president. Details to follow, all caps, 3 exclamation points." So we don't have any details on this yet. He's announcing this basically the same way that the Vietnam deal was announced, with a teaser on Truth Social, and then further details also revealed on Truth Social. But yeah, sounds like there is a deal made with Indonesia. And Trump's saying here it's a great deal for everybody. If I have more details or when I get more details, I'll let you know. Back to you.
A great deal for everybody. You're winning, Sharif. All that winning, you got to stop the winning over there. Always good fun. No, like it just,
Come
I
on,
looked
Trade
over.
Desk, let's go.
Nvidia just lost 170 again. So we're continuing to make lows here on NVDA. If it breaks the bottom, that'll be that point where I still like VWAP on SMCI, but it's going to be a little bit distinctly different if we're actually breaking down on Nvidia back through that 170. I see Trade Desk is now going.
Yeah, it's trying to. I mean, it's chopping sideways. That's the thing. It's made higher lows off of the day low, currently sitting at 82.97, pulling back up into VWAP again, 84.60. So not that far away. But again, this chop is a little bit concerning, I'd say. The aggressiveness that kind of steps into the book at times. I'm kind of, being very patient, watching as closely as I can. The spread is an interesting thing on this one as well. But yeah, 170, I'm watching Nvidia on the side as well, staring down these books as they get aggressive both ways. So Nvidia, lackluster, man. I was looking for that boom to come in with those chips being sent over to China back again. So again, not really coming in. Maybe this is one of those moments, Neil, that it is truly sell the news and then maybe relocate, I guess, for a little bit of a continuation later on, right? Reassess, not relocate. Relocate that bid to a different level there when and if Nvidia finds a bid. 169.37 is trading right now, though. Oh boy, Neil, this is definitely not what I was expecting, but it is what it is. We got to stay as adaptable as possible and focus on the stuff that is potentially working for us. And here, and Trade Desk looking a little bit better than a lot of other things that I am watching. For myself, I want to know what you guys are trading. Palantir saying, Brent, oh boy,
LCR, baby.
yeah.
SMCI again doesn't get to view. Well, I'll get to SMCI in a quick little second. Palantir broke this broke this local top here at 149. It immediately tried to lit grab back underneath and held the 3/4 mark. So I tried to add to it if I can, and I'll probably give the stop now to the 3/4 where it already gave to. It already bounced instead of. Here we go, I'll zoom in so you can see. Instead of the volume weighted average price, so it lit grabbed into VWAP, then it broke out the top. It tried to break the 3/4. My stop was under here, so now I want to add. I was able to get some out in front of 40, but I want to add to this on the upward trend in Palantir. Tesla's still heading downside. For the first time, Nvidia looks like it's doing something different, but I don't know, how much do I like this? It's not looking that good. It's SMCI that's strong. So we'll just, I think, go back into this. If we're going to look for a bid, I'll be more patient with Nvidia. It's only been a half an hour into the open, and one of these things is not like the other.
Nope.
And it's why I wanted to have 2 chip stocks to look at. Kind of bungled this because it didn't really break that trend, and I got out anyways, thinking it was a trend break. It was not a trend break. So if we stay on trend with SMCI, this is just distinctly stronger than Nvidia. AMD is just distinctly stronger than Nvidia. That's where you want to be. Was that a call for Adair?
No,
I heard something about it.
I said, oh, come on, dude. That's what
that
I
was
said.
you?
Because I was just like, again, we're getting these aggressive bids into 84s on Trade Desk and then insta slams into the bid just back down. So I'm like, all right, well, if you're going to play like that, I definitely don't want to be here as of right now. Again, maybe not the best average, whatever it is, but this is kind of the action I'm not really trying to deal with as of right now because it is a little bit of a chop. You can see that multiple ins and outs. Let's not do too much more of that as of right now. Where is the next trade? That's what I'm asking. Nvidia still hasn't really done what I'm looking for just yet. That 170 off of the open was quite nice. And oh boy, there comes some selling back through. So that 84 can't really hold as of right now on Trade Desk. Let's see if we can get any sort of test of that VWAP as well. But again, I'm probably not going to be there for that. Coinbase 400, I hear Neil whispering. What's going on over there?
Coinbase.
Can you guys hear us when we whisper?
I don't know. What's the sometimes, and look, if you've been trading long enough, and I've been trading over 20 years, it's crazy because sometimes I'll dream about the markets, but other times I'll just start hearing voices in my head. One of those was somebody saying that Coinbase was going to get to 400. So yes, but yuck, jinx. The second it goes to 399, Well, this is what they decided to do with 399. Lit grab 399 and wrap back, right back underneath. The other thing that's happening is, okay, hold on, give me a second. I'll get to Bitcoin in a quick little second here. I did get the dip buy in Palantir, but now look at what's happening. I literally, the second I got the fill, I just offered the same 33 that I had before in front of 40, and it tapped the same level and pulled back. So, like, I still like this little bit of a upward channel. I'm missing some data. VWAP's going to be a little bit off on this chart because I'm missing a little bit of data from the pre-market on Palantir, but it's double tapped this level. I don't want to make another move on this until I see it either give me a distinct entry off the lows again on the tape, or we can break out that top and head into the 150 level. So somebody's selling it underneath the highs of yesterday on Palantir. So far, so good on Palantir, but I want more continuation. I promised I'd go over look at IBIT for you guys because Bitcoin's holding 118. Nice upward trend, but look at the chop. Now we're getting choppy. It's stair step up with a choppy range-bound trade. Hard for Coinbase to break out when that's happening. So just be a little bit careful if you're trading those. Somebody's, like the algos are in control right now on Bitcoin. The last 5 or 6 minutes on a 3-minute bar, exactly the same range. It's a little bit wild. And for anyone still looking at Nvidia, there's just nothing. If you like the long, I don't even like what's happening here. There's a bottoming tail. It's trying to get through 170. We're breaking back through the lows. The Nasdaq is about to break the low of the day again. So you got to be careful with this. Like, manage to navigate some bounce plays, but can Palantir really go when the market's doing this? I mean, it'd be nice if it can. If we can bounce off the bottom, I think we can churn through. But once again, there's that 149.40. See the seller come right in at 149.40 again? If we get back to VWAP, Palantir is busting this out and going to 150. But the market might just be too weak. So it's basically scalp wins to the long side and more of a short than I was anticipating. Dara.
Before we get into what's happening now, we're going to take a moment to thank our friends at Top One Futures. Are you looking to trade futures like the Nasdaq, SPY, or even Bitcoin? Top One Futures is one of the fastest growing prop firms out there. They give traders the chance to manage up to $1 million in capital. Pick your path, instant funded, challenge, or pro account, and start trading your way to real payouts and even a live account. In the last 90 days alone, they have paid out over $10 million, and they've earned over 1,000 5-star reviews from real traders. So use that discount code TTV, that is TTV, to save on any account. Scan that QR code or head to top1futures.com and start trading towards your next payout. Here's the S&P 500. As you can see here, some clear resistance around that 628 level. Right now, we're actually near pre-market lows around 625.50, and we actually seemed poised for a bit of an interesting start to the day. We got some CPI data. CPI year over year a little bit higher than expected. Core CPI month over month lower than expected, but CPI month over month and core CPI year over year both flat. So very mixed data, to say the least, with the CPI print. We also had Donald Trump teasing on Truth Social that he's made a trade agreement with Indonesia, and in all caps, details to come. So if we get these details, I will certainly keep you all apprised. CoreWeave on watch here, committing $6 billion to U.S. AI infrastructure in Lancaster. I know Google also announced an, AI and data center related investment in Pennsylvania. So this is certainly going to be a story to keep an eye out for today. Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, and Citigroup all on watch. They all reported EPS and revenue beats for their earnings, but all the stocks trading pretty choppily this morning. And last but not least, TSLA on watch, entering the Indian market. We already knew about that. They were opening this showroom, but they also, interestingly enough here for TSLA, they did announce apparently the pricing for their Model S is going to be around $70,000. Model Y, $70,000.
Thank you very much, sir, Dara. A wealth of information and all the live news as well coming back in. So, interestingly enough, it's not as if the Nasdaq gave the bounce that I was talking about earlier. If anything, we're still looking a little bit weak on the Nasdaq, trading lower. Again, be patient. If you're playing into the long side, oh, seriously. And I was just about to, the next thing I was going to say was how we're buying through the 149.5 on PLTR, and it finally got through that order. And then immediately, what's the first thing that happens? Is it comes right back to the 140. Now, I've been in this get rid of that order. I've been in this situation before. I have already scalped out twice. I don't necessarily feel the need to be overly aggressive taking this out. But what I do need to do is respect the fact that, like, if we break 149, I should just be taking this one out. Somebody's got control of this at 149.5. There's pretty much no denying it at this point. And if they jiggle me out, and again we end up with like a single, just some small wins to the long side in a down market, fair enough. But you can see the control that's happening. It's already failed under 150, and then someone's got control under 149.40 on Palantir. If we lose 149, I just jump out of this, and I can always get back in if it shows more strength. But the market just might not be ready at this particular moment to go. And that's why we can be patient. I always talk about this. It's a patience game, everybody. Adara?
Headlines to address here. We've got UBER, this one dropping lower in the day. We actually had a positive catalyst this morning with a Baidu team up, but now we've got Waymo announcing that they've hit 100 million fully autonomous miles driven on public roads. So Waymo with this announcement of 100 million fully autonomous miles driven on public roads. UBER dropping a little bit lower here. Also, we have a couple announcements related to President Donald Trump. The first one here, apparently Trump is going to be delivering the keynote address at the Winning the AI Race Summit hosted by the All In podcast. So one thing to keep an eye on. Interestingly enough, one of the hosts of the All In podcast is David Sachs, who is Trump's AI and crypto czar. Secondly, Trump actually posted again here on Truth Social, and this one is another one about the Fed. Consumer prices low, all caps. Bring down the Fed rate now, all caps, 3 exclamation points. So more calls here for the Fed to lower rates from U.S. President Donald Trump. Back to you.
Yeah, you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful when he's speaking. Oh boy. Okay. Well, I was gonna say I did not get stopped out there initially on that push, but yeah, no. This trade desk, man. Okay, so it's very, very clear. Sellers are in charge. People are profit taking. It's been down in the dumps. We kind of talked about that. I was looking for a potential bid continuation, but it seems like it's just not there. So that's fine. I'm very, very much wrong on this one. Many, many tries, and maybe a little bit of too much of the daily risk spent on it. But again, nothing too crazy, nothing that is not manageable. So where is the next trade? I'm seeing that AMD as well, Neil. Beautiful reversion back down, 158.67s. All the way back down to 184s. Joe, did you take that short? Let's go. Let's go. Wow, look at that. That is a snipe. Good trade. Good trade. There you go. See, this is what I mean. There's so many opportunities in this market. Depends on where you're looking, depends on what you're trading. Shout out to Joe for a banger trade on that AMD reversion.
Here it comes.
I saw that happen. I was like, oh boy, that's coming in real nice. And guess what? We got somebody on our team here that is on that trade already. So stick around for the midday show and you'll see more of Joe and Sharif and some more banger trades as well. The market now catching a little bit of a bid here back to the upside. So let's see if we can finally catch a little bit of a bid here on Nvidia. But those chips, man, they're moving around really, really nice. Let's see what some of those banks are up to as of right now, because I mean, earnings a little bit lackluster. Wow, Citigroup pretty much flat. So let's take a quick look at that one here. So Citigroup, boom, right here. So flat, nothing really. JPM, look at that, flat. Nothing's really happening here. And Wells Fargo as well. A little bit more of a trend here, a little bit of a direction, but relatively, I guess, muted to say the least as well. So let's see, this 82 hold on trade desk. I don't know. I've tried this so many times already. I don't know if this is going to be the final try. I have no idea. But day low currently sitting at 82.49. We're about 10 pennies away from there. So I will, as Sharif likes to say, pack my patience and be a little bit more patient with that one there. 170 chop and churn here on Nvidia. Let's see if we can make it back up to VWAP. That's all the way at 171s. I'm not really getting involved here just yet, but I am waiting and looking for the next trade. And I see Mike P. DeRider back in the chat. I was reading all your messages from yesterday, man. You were up on a boat or something, just chilling. Sounded like you were having a great time. So thanks for coming back and joining us once again today. What do you got going on Palantir, Neil?
So I had inventory into Palantir into 150. Again, I did jump back into it on Palantir when it broke away from that 149.5 zone. And it got the long in through, then took the break as well, but the break was no good. So the long into 150 good, the break of 150 no good, so that's a bit of a wash on Palantir. The first trade, we got a small win, and again, we kept getting that $0.50 move, and then eventually stopped out break even. But it hasn't been clean on the way up. I still like this. As long as it holds on to, remember that seller at 149.40, as long as it's holding that level, I don't want to hold my 150s all the way down there, but I do want to reload if I can in the mid range, like right in that 149.5 zone. So I don't mind jumping out of the 150s at this moment because I can always get back into it, take a second shot. But I want to see if I can snag some 149.5s. Like Palantir is just distinctly different at this moment, breaking out the highs and green while the market is trying to get through the volume weighted average price. That said, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Nvidia did make a bit of a trend break here. All right, let me just cancel that order because while I was focusing on Palantir a little bit more, Nvidia broke trend and is now headed higher. So trend break on Nvidia. If it does us a gift of pulling right back into that entry at 169.5, then I'll take it. But while focused on getting into that Palantir, which I might get again, I missed that trend break on Nvidia. Sometimes you got to give it up, wait for it to set up again, then take the next trade. You can like Nvidia long, doesn't mean you have to buy it at every single price level in every single situation. Let's go back up to the desk. Adara's got something for us.
Yeah, Trump is on. I think Trump has maybe posted 4 True Social posts in the last 20 to 30 minutes. He's on quite the streak. Still no more details on that Indonesia trade deal he teased, but he did just post this about the Fed. Fed should cut rates by 3 points. Very low inflation. $1 trillion a year would be saved. 3 exclamation points. It's worth noting this is nowhere near the first time he's called for a 3-point rate cut, but he's now certainly being a little bit more vocal about this. For the record, it's about, I think tomorrow will be 2 weeks to the letter, exactly 2 weeks until the next Fed meeting. They're not expected to cut rates at this meeting, but clearly President Donald Trump still interested in a substantial rate cut, and quickly. Back to you.
I'm really rich.
Get him. Get him.
Oh, boy.
Well, of course we want rate. Come on. We know what he wants. But just because you want something doesn't mean that's what you're going to get. That's not how it works. But ultimately, look, all I'm seeing right now is a potential of the V-shaped recovery. If you're looking at the price action in the market, like it's what's weird about it is it's very much a stock pickers. Like I was pulling up some of the Mag 7 to get a sense of where some other names are at. And what's weird is, okay, so the Nasdaq, there's your top, stair step down, trying to break through. Something like a Google, stair step up. But all things are the same. You're still at VWAP on both. That's the important part. And if we're going up from here, I like the fact that you have some mag names holding that volume weighted average price. Come on, all right, if we're just going to take 150 again, I guess that's what it's going to be on Palantir. But also look at Nvidia. So that reversion on Nvidia, the second it reverted, the second it broke that trend, it absolutely just fires off to the upside of Nvidia. And the other thing that's happening is SMCI is going to break the high. I still want to buy the dip on Nvidia. I just don't think it can be down here again. I have to look for something a little bit different for another entry. There's SMCI. I'm anticipating maybe a failed break. And if you can fail break the top, pull back into 53, that's another way that we can be able to get into it. So yeah, that's where the eyes are going to be focused. And I didn't get filled on Palantir re-breaking the high of the day there. Like my stop triggered, but did not hit the breakout trade. How far did I cross? Not far enough. Oh yeah, I didn't cross very far on the 150 break the second time. I crossed like 7 pennies. That's not enough. That's not going to get you the fill, crossing 7 cents on the second time breakthrough. Palantir is off. It's only up 1%, but these are all-time highs, everybody.
Yeah, no, Palantir is definitely one to watch there. Again, that 150, we were looking for that yesterday. Didn't really come in, and we were like, oh, we might not even get it in the intraday. Remember, we were talking about this, and we got it in the intraday. So, yeah, shout out to Palantir for giving us some of those moves there. NVIDIA all the way back at VWAP here, so we did get that nice reversion back in 171s trading, 170.80s I have here, or 171s as VWAP, and we're kind of coming right back up into it. But again, off of the open, sellers were definitely in charge. Took us all the way down to 169s and some change, but you can see the sentiment here on the rest of the market as well. Both the Nasdaq and the ES catching a little bit of a green 15-minute candle. And how much time is left in this 15-minute candle, you may ask? It's about 1 minute and 50 seconds. So let's see how we close the first I guess, roughly 45 minutes of the trading day here. Yeah, throw it up in the chat what you guys are trading. I want to know. I am curious. People talking about MP. People talking about Chef Joe ES. Well, of course, we know that you trade the futures, the markets as well. Let us know how that's going. That's a nice little pop happening right now, like you said, on these futures. ES holding that 63.15 as of right now, but kind of sideways within range of what we've been doing throughout the overnight session as well. So one to watch out for, a little bit of a pullback off of that 171 on Nvidia. So it seems like VWAP continues to stay heavy off the open. Sellers showed us who's in charge. A little bit later, VWAP kind of holds as well, again showing us who's in charge. And once again, let's see if sellers can step back into this name as of right now, or is that all the selling that we had in store for today and we trade a little bit higher? I have no idea. This thing can do so many different iterations of price action. I'm just here to try to capture some moves and be along for the ride. And I'm seeing long Amazon, but it's real sticky, saying Adam Khalifa. Okay, we can take a quick look at Amazon and see what that one's up to. Let me pull up the chart here for you guys. Amazon, I love this stock here, but yeah, looking a little bit sticky for sure, as it is pretty tight and ranging. This breakout was quite nice, but you can see it's not very clean. We get that push right off of the open, and then pull back, kind of a chop and sideways range here, in a range that we've pretty much held for the past couple of days, roughly. But yes, attempting to break out right now. So good luck on that one there. Chef Joe saying he took that 63.15. Oh boy, nice. Was that an ad or was that an entry? That's the question. Was that an ad to an existing position, or was that a fresh entry to a brand new position? That's the question I have for you, Chef Joe, because that is an absolute sniper. And I would love to talk to you about what you may or may not have seen on that bounce there. But that turn was quite nice, reverting pretty much over 50 to 60% here on the Nasdaq. Not even close to a 50% reversion here on the ES just yet. So maybe the ES is lagging behind just a little bit there. Chef Joe saying that was his entry, and Christopher Mulligan saying Obi's got to let go of TTD. He's missing so many other opportunities. You, my friend, are absolutely correct. So let's continue to look. Got the stop in. Let's move on from the trade desk and look at some other names here, because yes, I am definitely missing opportunities elsewhere across the board, and again, maybe on trade desk as well. Maybe you got to get short on something that sets up like this. I got to go back and maybe look a little deeper into the nuances of this S&P 500 ad relative to some of the prior ones that we've had.
Datadog did hold up well the first day.
Yeah.
So there is it's not like
a continuation a little bit later.
Yeah, Datadog held up right away. What the difference I think with that one was, if we're is it going to go far enough? Yeah, I think the difference was it was strong into the pre-market. It was catching a bid and then dipped into gap support on Datadog. Whereas what was happening in the trade desk was distinctly different. It gapped up and then was only heading down, so it was trending to the downside, whereas you were at least holding like a bull flag or whatever you want to call it. So maybe that's the difference. I still like the idea of catching a bid on it, but I haven't seen anything that I'm in love with. All right, so we're back in on trend in Palantir. I got back to 150s. Again, it scalps to $0.50. The last time it threatened to break trend, it very barely did so when I got out. I want to give it a little bit more leeway, but not a ton more, because I want a chance to be able to buy this back on if it bounces off the trend line here on Palantir. So just kind of connecting the dots, ignoring this bottoming tail wick and kind of looking at where it connects. That's where I'm drawing the trend line. So if we bounce off this trend line, I'll look to add back into the 150 area, as I did scalp into that high. If we lose the trend line, it's an easy out for me. A lot of people have asked about where's the levels on MP. There are none. Unless if you use Fibonacci's or some other sort of indicator that allows you to create levels out of thin air at higher prices, well, that's what it does.
Yes.
You know, then you'll have levels. Blue sky set up here on MP. So the obvious, the $60 level, yeah, should it have been more than a scalp trade? The way everything reversed at the top, like, you know my style. We had a lot of, like Tesla yesterday immediately reversed, and Robinhood yesterday immediately reversed. So the initial breakout trades, you want to scalp and get out. When I see that happen on the market, a lot of times that's going to be a reaction. Take what you get on the open, and then move on to the next trade and find something trending. Well, I took what I got in the open, and that ended up being wrong in this particular case on MP. But outside of just saying $60 because it's an even number, there's not much else to look at. When it had the parabolic move up on the 10th, I believe it was, 42 to 50, that was about $8. So maybe you're expecting that kind of a range, 52 to 60. But all I'm doing there is saying, well, it went $8 that time, and it's been bouncing off $10 higher, so why wouldn't it go $8 again? That's all. That's just making up levels as far as I'm concerned. I'd be using a trailing stop at this point with the trend line as my exit if I was trading MP. And let me just redraw my trend line in there. So we're bouncing off trend in Palantir. That means I should be reloading as long as this bar closes above. I wanted this bar to close above, and then we're going to be reloaded.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely Palantir, big miss for on my part. And let's take a quick look at Hood as well. I know that one, we were watching that yesterday for a potential push through that 101, 102 area. And look at that, Neil. It is holding that low of range pretty well off of the open and continuing to push. So we've reclaimed that 100 mark as of right now. And let's see if we can finally push through that 102 with any sort of distinction going in to the later or the middle of the day here and into the later half of the day as well. So that's what I'm watching for here. 101s potentially coming in as of right now. 70s holding underneath the VWAP right now on Nvidia. So yeah, I'm watching this consolidation here on top of or underneath VWAP on Nvidia. Not really doing anything too crazy, but you can see we've had very strong legs that you could have definitely taken advantage of throughout the morning session. But right now we got a small cap recap with Adara. So let's see what's going on there.
Again. Oh, choppy.
Here's IWM consolidating near its lows of day. This, much like what we kind of saw with the market, we did have this relative gap up, not as big as the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq for that matter, and then dropping off the open. But unlike what we're seeing with the SPY and the Nasdaq, there hasn't been a real bounce as of yet for the Russell. Let's see if that changes as the day unfolds. Here's PRZO. This one here did have a catalyst. I guess I don't have it up right now, but ParaZero apparently starting some demonstrations for Israeli, I believe, military officials. So PRZO, good look here. This is one that is in that kind of drone-related space, and it's one that's also watched here by retail investors. CYCC, about a 1.5 million share float. Still no story here that I can see on Cyclocell, but this one just breaking pre-market highs. Great look for CYCC. Last but not least, critical metals here, CRML. We know MP on watch. Here's another play in that space, and they have their own catalyst as well. They did commence a 2,000 meter resource diamond drilling program at Tanbreeze Rare Earth Project in Greenland. So CRML project announcement, also near day's highs. Good look for this one. Back to you.
Yeah, that small cap space, man, is going absolutely crazy.
There's a bunch.
And yeah, it's just some amazing success stories as well. Again, in the Twitterverse. So again, you know, taken with a grain of salt. But again, some of them definitely believable, and some of these guys, again, they're verified on you know, third-party platforms like Kinfo and stuff. So absolutely solid to kind of see that come in. But yeah, small cap trading has been really hot and picking up as of late. And I'm just like, oh boy, yeah, no, exactly. I'm just like, oh boy, why am I not taking advantage of these opportunities? Well, guess what, OB, we did not build a playbook around it for current market. So that's what I have to kind of put in some time doing. But again, I'm looking at some of these charts. Reversions are there, breakouts are there. Liquidity traps, absolutely beautiful.
Shorting the pop on Mullen.
Beautiful.
It's there. Soon to not be Mullen. And when they change their ticker, just don't get tricked. It's still Mullen. It's still Mullen. It'll always be Mullen. But I did pay for locates. I guess I should have. I was like, I don't have any short ideas today. And then Mullen happened and double tapped the same level and it's now right back in. Yeah. Yeah, shorting Mullen when it goes to the upside should always be a thing. Literally always. Anyways, moving on because I don't have it. They lit grabbed again. I keep losing this. I just keep redrawing the trend line. They keep lit grabbing this trend line on Palantir. However, I have to follow my rules, and when I buy the dip and we lose the prior bar, either close underneath or lose the prior bar underneath the trend line, I jump out. That's just the rule of the trade. What I don't want to get caught in is what happened in AMD. Whoops. Oh, okay. AMD apparently trades in Zetra as well. I just learned that when I typed in the wrong symbol. When you lose the trend line and just immediately flush down. So like what Joe was into the short, the reason why I follow the rules is because this can happen to you when you don't. So I don't mind coming back into Palantir and taking multiple shots at it, but they're absolutely liquidity grabbing underneath the trend line. Why is my scaling getting up? That doesn't really matter. Now this chart will just be in the middle, which is fine. So they're just lit grabbing the trend line every single time, so I don't mind jumping back. I'd rather this be above 140 because you're kind of dealing with a 150 fail at this point, which is a little bit problematic for sure. And that's what you're saying, like Tijan, as soon as I exit, it starts moving up. And that's why I'm showing you guys the trend line, because my execution strategy here is off the trend, while what's actually happening on the stock is they're grabbing liquidity by running the stops underneath the current trend line, which does mean I have to change this. I have to change my entry plan, which is not to buy it out in front, like buy the long on the way up out in front. I need to wait for it to try to break the trend line and then catch it as it's coming back through, if that makes any sense. Let it break, and the long is back through instead of the long after it's held. So until I see that, I'm not jumping back into the stock at all. You just have to be a little bit more patient. I think was that small cap recap? Oh, my bad. Let's go to Obi.
Yeah, so guys, trade the pool. So with Trade the Pool's swing trading programs, you can get access to up to $40,000 in buying power to trade real shares, not CFDs. You can hold positions overnight, over the weekend, and enjoy limited risk. Thanks to a one-time evaluation fee, no monthly payments, no hidden cost. Take Vincent J, for example, one of the Trade the Pool's swing traders. He's already locked in $23,000 in profits. His top performer, NMAX. He shorted it from April 20th to May 30th and pulled in a $6,777 gain. That's lucky, triple sevens. Trade the Pool is giving swing traders the tools, the time, and the capital to thrive. Scan the QR code and enjoy 10% off with our friends at Trade the Pool here. So I'm watching this Robinhood right now as well. Pretty decent trend, strong trend to the upside here, kind of just grinding back up. So we're kind of starting to see this grinding action come into the markets more and more, whether it's to the upside, whether it's to the downside. And Neil, I'm trying to get used to it, and sometimes I find myself getting more chopped up than anything in some of this grinding action. So what I've started to notice is like, okay, what are some indications of grind, and how do we kind of take advantage of it, or even stay totally away from it and wait for a little bit more clarity in the price action there. But it definitely is a little bit of a curve of learning when it comes to that. But that is trading, is it not?
Well, that's exactly what trading is. It's like I was just sort of saying with this upward trend in Palantir. The way it's behaving off this trend is a little bit, it's different from what I'm expecting. Like I'm going long into it and then looking for it to hold. And then as my plan always goes, get out when it doesn't. But really the way to be playing this is to let it test, which I'm letting it do now. Like notice how when it bounced off the trend line, I didn't go long again, which is what I had been doing. Look, what I had been doing was just getting me like base hits and then stopping out. So what I'm gonna do now is allow it to lit grab. So you've done the lit, oh, don't close under the trend line. Well, that's distinctly different. Anyways, allow it to lit grab and then reestablish. And when it does that, then I can try to get into it. Not away from it as it's going, but a little bit tighter too. And now you're back above the 150. So it just did the liquidity grab. And this way, this is twofold. Like one, it gives me a different timing of the entry. It also gives me a much tighter stop, which I like. Because if I'm gonna take multiple shots at it, then ideally, if I can get tighter stops as opposed to a little bit wider, I don't need it to go 50 cents like I was before. This one can go 20 or 30 cents because I'm stopping out underneath like the 90 level. Well, it's a very, very tight stop because it's been so choppy. So I'm risking 20 pennies on this now instead of before when you're risking 30 or 40, which is fine on Palantir when it goes 50 cents or a buck. But when that's not the move that you're getting, then I want to switch it up a little bit, get that liquidity grab. Now I can have a really tight stop as it's hugging that trend line and allow it to just go like 20, 30 cents in the money and already be taking profit into that high of the day. So again, just a bit of a change of plan for me in Palantir based on the way that the stock was trading, and then you adapt to what you're seeing. So I was right about the trend line, but it doesn't matter because the execution plan was wrong. So you switch up the game plan on the execution, and now we can run it into the high of the day. And the next time it tests the bottom, I'll see if I can do the same thing again to reload and jump back into it over and over. I've been ignoring this stock, and I've seen a few people, AnuView and Pervid Trader in the chat have been mentioning CYCC. This is, I'll tell you right now, this will not get traded by myself, probably not likely by, maybe Sharif would, but I certainly wouldn't. It's done 17 million shares. I'm not gonna count the halts, but suffice to say there've been a lot of halts on this. If you happen to have it early, congratulations. It's now almost a triple up, halted at 1287 with a 1350 tap. This is gonzo. Liquidity is at a premium. It probably will halt another half dozen times the way it's trading. So it doesn't necessarily fit a plan of action of anything that I trade. Even if you took the early halt or break, you had to sit through a down halt, and then I guess it held VWAP there. So congratulations to anybody that's in it. This is not something that I will touch personally, but it is looking rather good for everyone out there. All right, Palantir, let's see if we can get another reload. It just wicked the high. 151's a nice natural place for it to go. And I find myself, I just keep redrawing this trend line. I'm hitting save again.
I mean, it's holding it pretty well.
It's holding it really well.
Yeah. Oh, there's
this is why I didn't save it, because it's been crashing my chart when I save the trend line. So I'm just going to, every time it comes back, I'll just draw the line I'm trading off of. But it's pretty easy to see on a 3-minute chart what's going on with Palantir. Let's go back over to Adara. Crypto time, everybody.
Bitcoin certainly put in a bit of a topping tail candle in the daily chart here yesterday, but there's still hope. I mean, we're certainly still trading near and at all-time highs, so never fear here for BTC. Looks like today is just a bit of a pullback. For the record, we did make new all-time highs around that 123,000 level yesterday morning. We ended up closing, though, actually just below 120,000, so we gave up about 3,000 from that push to all-time highs. Then we've actually dropped as low as just above that 116 area, currently recovering a bit from today's low around 117 halves. But let's take a look here at the 30-minute chart and see how things are shaping up, because it looks like right now we could have a bit of a double bottom, or not double bottom, rounded bottom here. Sorry about that. Let's see if we're able to break back out into new all-time highs today, because we certainly are, again, about 6,000 points removed, but it's not impossible. The next level of resistance until we get to that 23,000 would be about 120 halves. So let's take a look here at some of these other plays. Again, like I said, Bitcoin down in the day, but Ethereum, which was actually a bit red this morning, recovering nicely, currently up about 0.5%, so relatively flat, but it is notably back above that 3,000 level. XRP down about 3%. This one was really strong yesterday. Solana down about 3%. Doge and Cardano both down here about 5% and 2.5% respectively. So there is a lot of weakness across the board. Ethereum actually might be one of the strongest plays we have today, oddly enough. Back to you.
Did I just hear that?
Yeah, no, I think that
Grinder's heading higher, apparently. Grinding higher, I don't know.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No, Nvidia is also grinding higher.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Almost at day highs.
It's almost at day highs. Thank you, Odyssey Flights, for the super chat. Have 2 cups of coffee. Hey, I've already had my 2. I'm good. I got one of them in the Yeti, so it stays nice and warm. We appreciate you for sure. But wow, the recovery in the chips is legitimate. And we thank you for the super chat. You can always, if you add us in the chat, like just add in our names, it'll highlight and it's a little bit easier to read. But as Nvidia grinds higher, as you can kind of see it doing, obviously the early look, I liked it. I only wanted this thing above 170. That was kind of like my first line in the sand with the stock. And it didn't it reestablished it clean. I told you guys I missed the mean reversion trade there and I didn't chase it. But now it's right back to where I liked it for the long, with that being VWAP. So I'm going to dip buy into this. And you know what? I'm still taking the 173 break. That hasn't changed. I'm still taking a 173 top break. The only thing that's going to be different is I'm going to go inventory into it as well because of time of day. At the open, when everything just kind of goes, if it goes right away on a breakout, you want to have it, I just go 173 break. But now I want to have this 172 half into the 173 as well for Nvidia. So yeah, we can dip into 171, which is the price I liked, or I can take a break of this $0.50 and maybe add to it at 173. There's lots of ways that we can play into this. I just heard out of my ear that CYCC hit like $15. So again, I will not be trading this, but it's about to go into an up halt at 14.85. I said 15, but essentially 15. So another up halt about to happen here on CYCC. Again, good luck to everybody. No one ever went broke taking profit. I will not be trading that stock. I don't like trading halt to halt unless it's like the meme days were different because we used to kind of do that all the time. And I said that the other day.
Yeah.
During the meme craze, and pretty much everyone was taking those types of stocks because like when GameStop was going halt to halt, like the liquidity was just, it was built different. Like it was halting, but it still had ridiculously good liquidity,
Right.
which is just, CYCC's not like that. So that's why you don't necessarily see day traders trade that very often. I just noted the position board is not working. I still am only in the 150 long on Palantir as we're going to Adara.
Here is RDW, this one breaking out of its consolidation. Redwire Corporation is the name of the company. I looked it up. We're doing about 1.6 million shares so far in the day, so volume is decent. And I bring it up now because we did just have Banyan Hill, this is, I guess, a research firm issuing a long idea on the stock, calling it a pure play space infrastructure company. So keep an eye on RDW this morning. Back to you.
Okay, all right, we'll keep an eye on that one there. Nvidia is the one I'm definitely keeping the closest eye on right now as it creeps back up towards
Creeping on the down low.
It's creeping on the down low right here.
No one's supposed to know.
169.19 at the lows right there, and then 172.26 at the opening range highs right there. So you can see that nice little grind back up. But again, still trading within the opening range, so I'm going to be a little bit patient with that one. I've taken multiple stabs at this trade desk, and it just seems like it's just sellers are just holding it down, holding it down. We're printing some fresh lows as of right now as we speak. So yeah, no real bid just yet. Don't even know if it's going to be show up with any sort of dominance either. But again, looking back at the trade desk, I think the nuance that I'm going to be looking at a little bit here is, yeah, it did kind of set up slightly differently than some of the names here that were added to the S&P 500 in the past few months. So that's what I want to take a look at here as well. So let's go to the 3-hour chart, maybe encompassing a little bit more of that price action. So this is what is a little bit significant here. So right away, I think I have it anchored there. Yes, I do. So you can see we talked about that, holding that level pretty well and pulling back up into here. So I want to take a look at some of these prior consolidations. Where did they happen? So a little bit of a bounce here. It comes up to 91. So it didn't really get all the way there on the day today. But yeah, that consolidation low 88. So maybe some resistance, 87.73. So just shy of that 88 as of right now, but aggressively pulling back here on a higher time frame, as well as, let's say, a 15-minute chart as well. So maybe my issue right now is I'm not zooming out really and kind of observing the higher time frame. That's the issue right now. So that's usually what I'm doing for the most part. I'm looking at multi-time frames, and I'm not really doing that right now. And it's kind of self-explanatory in the executions, which are a little bit erratic here. But oh boy, Neil, here comes Nvidia at the day high. Let's see if there's anything there. That day high, what is that specifically? Well, we'll take a little bit of that pre-market high as well. That's at 72.40, only about 20, 30 points or pennies away from there on Nvidia. So yeah, let's see what's happening here. All right, so it's curtain time.
The curtain's going, everybody.
The curtain's coming.
That was very low key, but yeah, Studio 7 is ongoing, and you can see you can certainly see the black wall behind us. There it is. So the big renovations coming to Trader TV Live. Anyone who's been watching, maybe you've been hearing some of the drilling in the morning or some of the work being done. While some of it was happening, the Carlton dance, that's legit.
Hey,
actually do the
let's
curl.
go.
Yo, that was
legit. That was legit.
Yo, that was spot
go.
on. Power it up for
Coming in
Sharif
with the
there.
skills.
Wow, that was well played, man. I can't do the Carlton dance, but as I said, lots of work being done. Not so that we can dance in the studio, although there's a heck of a lot more room if Sharif wants to go back and do some. Because we flat out know that Sharif can breakdance because we've all seen the video.
Yeah.
So if he wanted to do that, or there's enough space now for potentially Joe and Sharif to finally have the push-up competition they've been talking about for the last year, which still hasn't happened.
You guys still haven't done
Apparently will never happen because, I don't know.
How many push-ups can you do in a row, Joe?
It's not an excuse.
50? 50
Joe
no sweat?
can do 50.
Yeah, okay.
50
that makes about
clean
sense, yeah.
is what Joe says he can do. Sharif, I'm just going to make up a number because
If you're pushing 100, then that's
you've all
something.
seen Sharif, so I'm just going to say 84 because why not? That's just how
That's so random.
Joe, Sharif's a beast.
A double of 42. I see that you are a man of culture.
I love the number 4. I love the number 42, Jackie Robinson, and the meaning of the universe as well. But there was something else I was going to say. Shoot. Dang it, Boomhauer. I've lost my train of thought. So I'm just going to go back to trading for a second because I had something else I was going to say, but it doesn't really matter now. Palantir, again, lit grabs the trend line. So instead of being into it, instead of reloading as it's bouncing off the trend line, I let it liquidity grab the trend line and then catch it going back over. And just to reiterate the plan of action here, like what that allows me to do is the re-entry, tighter stop. So instead of just giving it to some like crazier wick underneath, I can have a really tight stop on the reload. So once again, that's going to be the plan here on Palantir. It doesn't mean it's going to work. It just means if it loses trend, then I'm losing less money and I can scalp it in here. Maybe I should start scalping more aggressively because it's 1040. But yeah, Palantir, just a change of how I was doing it before with the wide stop, let it go, which I was still getting 40, 50 cent moves, but then I was like giving it way too much back there. So tighter entry point. Now I can give it to barely underneath the 150 level, like these bodies in here. And I don't really need it to go very far as we're playing back into it. The other thing is I'm going to take a shot at Nvidia at VWAP, but as the market's losing VWAP, I need a short idea. And the best thing I could come up with is if a chip name is at the lows and its name is Intel, it's probably a short. So like I think if we lose, like if Nvidia were to lose VWAP, this is a place that I'm going to go on Intel. Popping tail underneath, well underneath the latest resistance, and VWAP hold as well. So that's going to be the plan of action. And just to reiterate, why I decided to change strategy on Palantir is it was allowing me to win 30 cents while risking 10 to 15. So that's the difference. Like before I was trying to win that 30, 40 and risk about the same. So I just changed the strategy in terms of how I was getting into it to allow me to have a really, really tight stop. And that way, if Palantir was chopping me up, I was still getting 3 to 1 or 2 or 3 to 1. And then with really, really tight stops, it allows me to maybe take another shot at it, back at that prior high into VWAP, where I could still be involved at 150, but I didn't have to hold at 30, 40 cents against me. So not everyone can trade that way, but I was telling you guys why I was changing the plan of action on Palantir. And it still can't hold the 150 area, but now I have a better way to go about it, and I can't help you with Tesla, everybody. There's a reason Tesla wasn't on the radar today. Yep. And I said, and I still believe this, once Tesla can close me 2 candles above 320 on a 3-minute, and I'll go long above that price. But after the breakout trade was completely given up, it broke 320, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times at least by this count, and just continues to flush. So if you're looking long today, you just had to find things that were either relatively strong, like an MP, or an execution strategy which allowed you to profit with some choppiness, or just stay away from things like Tesla. It's red into an up market. I was only looking for some longs here, so I'm not going to pretend that this was on my radar to short the 320 move. I'm not going to try it down here, but I think a continuation play would make sense. If you were short this off of 320, I can't even think of a reason why you're getting out of this yet, at least until it retests that 312. I like 312 long yesterday. I can't think of any other place where I'd consider thinking about the support being other than the 312 area on Tesla. So hopefully that answers your question. Pathik is asking about it there. Dorothy Mantooth is a saint is looking Tesla shorts as well. Yeah, they're winning. I just think you wait till 312 and then evaluate a long. Let's go to Adara. Time for a little sector watch.
It is a very red board unless you are a semiconductor, more or less, but I'll get more into the specifics. Let's start with what's weak, because there is quite a lot. In finance sector, I mean, obviously it's all red, but I want to spotlight three names here. AXP to the downside here. They got a downgrade this morning. You could call that our upgrades and downgrades section around 9 a.m. We have BLK and Wells Fargo both down roughly 6% each after earnings, but Citigroup, the lone green name in this sector, actually up about 2% also on earnings. Health technology, bright red. Consumer services, bright red. Utilities, weak. Transportation, weak. Notably, DoorDash down about 3%, getting a downgrade this morning as well. Communications to the downside, health services, non-energy minerals, industrial services, consumer durables, process industries, retail trade, and now we are at the only relative strength that we have in this market. We'll start here with electronic technology. Apple marginally to the upside. Nvidia, Broadcom, AMD all strong. Now chips are pretty strong because we did have Nvidia. First, we had Nvidia announcing that they're going to be applying here to get the license. They can start resuming the chip, so they can resume sending these AI chips to China. Apparently, the U.S. government has indicated they will allow them to do so. Then AMD also announced they're submitting here for approval as well. So interesting look. Google and Oracle, green and tech services. But generally here, the story is going to be strong semiconductors and weak everything else. Back to you.
Thank you, Adara. You know what's actually holding up? And a bit of a surprise to me? Alibaba, here, let me look at K-Web for a second before. I don't want to speak out of turn as if all the Chinese stocks hold. So holding up pretty well. Dip on K-Web, holding VWAP, Alibaba in particular, which is just better. Dip holding well above the volume weighted average price on its gap up. Obviously, the news of Nvidia going to sell at some point, going to get back to selling the H200 to H20s to China, is bodes well for two reasons. A, they can use them. B, because it means there's more likelihood of getting a deal, a further trade deal between the U.S. and China. Now, Baba, I like what I see here. The 115 has been a bit of a problem on Alibaba. I was kind of looking for 112 in a dip, so obviously that didn't come into play. This could be a breakout. I didn't want to touch it at the open because we've seen this story before. A gap up on the Chinese ADRs, and it tends to try to fill in the gap, and it's always difficult to peg where it's going to turn. Better to let it turn and then try to participate. Over 115, there's a little bit of overhead resistance into the 115 half, but this does look like a standard V-shaped recovery and then continuation play. Here's why I'm going to kick myself on Palantir. That last exit, that was a trend break into VWAP. So trend break into VWAP, but I wasn't pulling the trigger short because I wasn't feeling the short, and I'm not going to do it now, but that was a trend break into the volume weighted average price that I could have. So until we get back and reestablish an uptrend on Palantir, then I go back to the other name that I like. Nvidia on this dip in the market does not dip into VWAP here, Obi.
Yeah, no,
It's just consolidating. So I expected that move down in the Nasdaq to take us into 171 again. That's where we grabbed the first long. I missed the mean reversion here, and now I'm waiting for another shot at VWAP or this breakout, which is still in play. The 172 half break, which is the pre-market resistance, opening range resistance. I'll play it either way here on Nvidia, but I got to wait for something to happen. Adara?
Keep an eye here in TSLA. We did get some news coming through. Wall Street Journal just publishing about 5 minutes ago here a report called Tesla's top North American sales executive leaves amid slump. So apparently the individual who left the company is Troy Jones. He's been with Tesla for 15 years. So this is quite the decision for him to leave the company here after 15 years. Again, we had some departures announced recently. So you're going to have to keep an eye on this. I'm going to look more into this article and this story, but either way, apparently a top North American sales executive and a 15-year Tesla veteran leaving the company. Back to you.
Boy, that's not the best of news there, but we're seeing kind of a lot of that, right? We're seeing a lot of these executives moving around. We're seeing Meta kind of pulling some players off of their competitors as well. So interesting stuff to say the least. But what is Tesla going to be doing off of that? Let's take a quick look at how that news might be panning out as of right now. But it's already been failing, Neil. Yesterday was quite interesting as well. well. Look at that top wick. I was looking at this last night and I was like, oh boy, that's a nasty wick for Tesla coming in right off of the open, but we're getting some more selling when we kind of reclaim some of that area from the pre-market right now, and maybe some more oomph to the selling with this news that came out as well. So 315s currently trading on Tesla. 172s on Nvidia. Yeah, man, that thing held up quite well, and I was looking for a potential reversion on this, to be honest, when I was like, okay, well, this pulled back and false broke the high, but then I was like, yes, wait for that trap to see if it actually consolidates in the upper quartile, to see if we can actually, if it's actually showing some true strength for continuation. And that 172 is holding pretty well as of right now. We dropped down to 170, was it 170, 150s, but that buildup is looking real nice right now, Neil. So look at this. This is what I'm looking at. If you go down to a 1 minute even, I don't usually trade on a 1 minute, but we can see that consolidation forming a little bit better here, that little flag. So false break of the day high, and then a little bit of a hold of that high of day area, I guess. So I'm going to be watching this, a little bit of a range, 171.50 to 172.40s as of right now, but we'll be right back after an interview with.
It's Mr. Jeffrey Mendel back. Whoa, looking fresh.
I like
Jeff.
that shirt.
That's what I'm talking
Nice
about.
shirt. Let's
Look,
go.
I didn't, Jeff, welcome in. I didn't get a chance to see you in the green room or anything, so you got me there. What's going on? Tell me something. Are you in the Caribbean? What's going on here, Jeff?
I'm in downtown Manhattan right now, but in my travels, I bought this at a department store in St. Louis, and I love it. It's awesome. I might have to just wear this on the show every time, man.
So what this tells me is things are obviously going so well over the OTC that you're going to be golfing later today. So A, where are you playing? And B, tell us how that moon launch has been going.
Okay, so I will say this: no golf today. Come on, guys. We got to get moon. We got to get moon roaring. We got to get moon soaring. Actually, right? Well, it's been going pretty good, right? So between our OTC overnight and also moon ATS for listed, right? We're trading all U.S. equities. Now from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. We're actually going to extend the OTC overnight, so it's basically just a 23-hour a day ability to trade, right? Which is great for like all the ADRs, like Tencent and Nintendo and DD and Luckin, right? You get to trade those also while the local markets are open as well too. So get some liquidity providers in there. And also just get kind of that ecosystem going, just like it does on the listed side, 24/5. Get it going on the over-the-counter side. But yeah, and so look, you got it up already too. Decent amount of activity today, and some of the names I already mentioned, right? 10 cents up 3%. DD, BYD. Which it's up about 2%. It's like BYD everywhere. Everywhere you look, it's more and more talk about what's going on, right? Electric car company, and if you're looking to invest or trade BYD on a U.S. ticker, it's right here on OTC markets, BYDDY. Yeah,
BYDDY, and again, actually gapping up obviously, because the Chinese names are all gapping up, but it's been doing some movement. And what I love about this, just for everybody that's looking for the trade, it's breaking a downward trend very, very clearly here. So some momentum coming back into BYDDY. But Jeff, one other thing too, it's the importance of what's going on with you guys and Moon and the OTC, and maybe getting familiar with the aftermarket, is last night. Obviously, you would have had the deal going on with, potential deal going with Nvidia chips going into China, and the reaction that you'll see in some of the names over here. And while we're discussing trade talks, and headlines can come at any time, and of course, at some point, the market just going to 24 hours, it makes it even more crucial to have access and be ready for some of the better moves. I will tell you right now, Nvidia cleaner in the aftermarket last night, in terms of the move price action, than it is at the open. And I bet you traders do much better on a day like, or an evening lag last night would have done probably much better just trading some trend than they would in the open market. Not that it's not good here, but wow, the opportunities are abound, certainly. Not just on the big names, but I think that's where the focus is. We get this big news, and then, of course, Nvidia, fantastic. We've seen it before. So when we're talking about sort of what's next, like what do you see as like the next big step that might energize some of the overnight trading to where it's not just the great nights like last night where you get a big announcement on chips? Like, what do you think the next big catalyst is for you guys? Because we know eventually this is going to be much bigger.
Well, I mean, I think right now, right, it's like, yes, we can always talk about the nights that there's a lot of activity going on,
Yeah.
volume spikes, right? Names like Nvidia, it's actually kind of all over the map as well too. But I think the consistency is something that, you know, we overlook sometimes. I mean, on average, there's a couple $1 billion notionally of stock traded in that overnight session, so 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. And that's decent, right? And you know, it's sometimes it's obviously more concentrated over a few different symbols, I think, on any given night, but that will continue to spread, that will continue to grow. And you know, just that base every night where you can go in and you can look at bids and offers, right? There's just going to be more bids and offers out there. There's going to be more people involved in it, right? It's like every day when I come into work, and also every evening when I go home too. Like it's like I'm talking to people all around the world about trading. You know, trading through round the clock, and getting that base up. So then, you know, on nights when it is crazy, there's just that much more liquidity there, that many more participants around, right? It's getting more of APAC involved. It's getting, the Saudis involved. It's getting people in India and Europe, and then also right here in the U.S. and Canada, and right, it's just adding to that ecosystem. That's the story right now.
Yeah, no questions asked, and I can certainly tell you around here, like it's always good. We first only had access, of course, to Blue Ocean, and just like when you're regularly trading, you have a million different gateways that you can trade through. Like when I look at my keyboard setup here, I have like way too many keys set up because there's so many different ATSs, so many different exchanges you can trade with. But for the overnight market, really, it was just one. And so now that we have the reliability of getting you guys on board, it's just a game changer because you're less likely to miss out on the opportunities now that it's more of a thing. So everyone out there, I'm not saying that you have to adjust and you have to trade in the aftermarket, but this is where everything is headed. If you're an active trader, have the flexibility and check out what's going on with OTC Moon. Now,
so like just to add to that point, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just about more options. Right. That's really at the end of the day. Right. And if you have a spot and you want to pick a point and it happens to be trading overnight at that level. Right. That's another opportunity for you to get involved. And then you also mentioned reliability. Right. And stuff like that. It's right. So right now, the DTC, which the depository here for the U.S., right now, they've expanded their hours. It's getting more people connected, at 1:30 in the morning. So then things can transfer seamlessly, lock in, and really just kind of create a more robust environment, right? And so that's also why we're getting more participants involved too, right? Because it's the regular day mechanics are bleeding or transferring into that overnight period as well too. Makes it easier for more people to get involved, makes it easier, it makes the risk, like counterparty risk and everything like that, it makes that a much better, more reliable environment to be a part of.
Yeah, you said it, and that's perfect. I think I'd say we'll end on that, but you know where I'm going to have to go next, and I'm going to do something I don't normally do for you, which is I'm going to say something nice about Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys for a second.
Okay.
And I'm able to even bring it back to the markets. The same way a rising tide on Nvidia lifts all ships in the chip names, I will say this about Dak Prescott. I am not the most bullish person on the Cowboys or Dak Prescott, but if you simply look at what the betting markets and what the consensus is as to the production of your two very good receivers of CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, who you guys just got, there's almost no way that if they meet their expectations that Dak doesn't have a strong year statistically. So if you're looking at Dak and some of his bets or like in fantasy, it's not possible for the receivers to do what people think they can without Dak having a good year. So that's my roundabout way of giving Dak Prescott a compliment that isn't a compliment that has anything to do with his abilities or with your team actually winning games, but it was still a compliment, I think, because I think he can put up some yards while you guys are chasing a bunch of gigantic deficits because you're going to lose a lot. Jeff?
He's done it in the past. Listen, he's done it in the past, and then it just disappears. Come week 16, it disappears. Gone, right? But I thought so actually, it's I thought you were going to talk about listen what some of the NFL players and everything are also doing down in Texas right now with all the floods, right? Some of the Cowboys and then also Patrick Mahomes and everything too. It's right. It's like I was down in Dallas, which is not the epicenter of everything going on, but it really hit the entire state of Texas pretty hard. And, everything kind of going on down there, what the Cowboys are doing, what some of the other NFL players are doing right now is, I think, pretty important.
No, kudos to them.
And also impactful as well, too. And anyway, but yeah, Dak Prescott as well, too. You give him the tools, he's going to put up a ton of numbers. And then there's the playoffs.
I can't. The timing of that, look, obviously, and hats and hearts out to everyone. Because I think them lending, and again, I'll crap on the Dallas Cowboys, but certainly there's bigger issues, and there's bigger issues, and obviously a serious issue there. And I'm trying to transition back to you getting poked fun of because you look like Dan Ives with that shirt. I will say this as a last point, Jeff. Your shirt is much better than Danny Ives' shirt. It's not even remotely close. Dan Ives, legendary. I think he's, all the respect in the world, but without question, your shirt is at least 2 to 3x better than the one that he's wearing in that picture. That's why we love you, Jeff.
I love it.
Jeff Mendel, head of Broker Dealer.
Where's Katina on vacation right now?
He's down in Boston. Going down to Boston with the family, Beantown. I'm pretty sure the Sox are not there, so I don't know if he's going to catch a game down in Boston, but he's taking the week off with the family to visit Beantown.
That's awesome, man. Cool. Well, anyway, thank you again, guys, and until next time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeff.
I gotta one-up myself next time.
No, it's a great shirt. I just don't believe that you're not golfing. You can't come on here in a shirt like that in the middle of summer and then try to tell people that you're not golfing today. Because I don't think anyone's going to believe you. And then certainly, I hope you have a good round there, Jeff.
Thanks, Neil. Have a good one.
All right, appreciate you, brother. Look, while that was happening, and shout out to Jeff, it is an awesome shirt. But while all that was happening, the market did give back into here.
Yeah,
like the Nasdaq continued lower. I jumped out of all the longs. There's nothing really that I wanted to be back into until we settled things down a little bit. As the Nasdaq took the lows, and we're trying to bounce, but you're stair-step to the downside on the Nasdaq. And we'll get to the midday. We got a few things we'll wrap up. Obviously, the thing I'm looking at right now is at 171 in Nvidia, but I'm not getting any indications of a long yet. Yeah, we're at VWAP, but I want to see something that gets me into that long. And then, as promised, we always have to do this. I'm going to say what the lunch is today.
Okay.
So we got pad grub. How do I say this? What is this?
What is that?
Pad gras prow? I don't know. Thai beef and basil stir fry. I want to say it right, but I don't know how to say it properly. So it's Thai beef and basil stir fry, steamed jasmine rice, vegetable stir fry, Thai cabbage salad. Sounds absolutely delicious to me. So I think we got a good one here for lunch, although I'm getting the salad anyways. Nvidia bouncing off VWAP. I'm going to look to get into that one, see if we can't rip it back up as the market takes it lower and lower. Lots of small caps moving around, so I know Sharif is going to be having fun. And a great AMD short. We'll see how that went with Joe. We'll be back at 2 o'clock. Now we got the Bash Brothers.
Take it easy, guys.
Boom.
Oh, we didn't even get the intro today, man. That's crazy.
Assassino, he's throwing curveballs today. What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to the Midday Show. That right there is your boy Joey Options, and I'm Sharif.